9:30 on a Thursday night, and you're tuned in to Beltway Radio and Beyond, which can mean one and only thing.
Ding, ding, ding. Oh, wow.
This is ChipChat. Welcome to ChipChat, everybody. I'm
Hey.
Chip. Who are you, Tez?
You just told him, buddy. You just told him. What is that you're holding up for the audience that is not watching us here live?
Yeah, so I from the last time that I was pretty sure the world was over, I have a lot of memorabilia left over. So this is one of my favorite things here. This is a 3D printed Trump chicken.
Trump chicken.
Yeah, you may remember that that in China they created a big inflatable Trump chicken.
Oh yes, wow.
So this is a model of it, and his hands can do that, and you can kind of style his hair a little bit.
Modular.
yeah, he comes apart in pieces, and much like the real Trump. And I am particularly a fan of this little hand here. I don't know if you can see that he's.
Oh wow!
He's
doing the for those who are not watching. He's doing the Trump hands with the I guess what is it? The thumb and pointer finger put together. It's
a little tiny hands trick there. And it's of note that he lives in where my desk is. He has a hat.
Oh, he has a hat?
Well, I made him a hat. It's a bottle cap hat.
Right, of course.
Well, even better, it says CCCP on it there with the Soviet star, as is befitting of.
Well, hold on, because it's Go Commies.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that.
Hold on.
We'll get to that.
We'll get to that. But
we've got a lot of stuff.
Last time we were here, it was prior to the inauguration, and I mean, I think as I think back to that show, it feels like we might have went into more upbeat, though the show didn't feel upbeat, but it feels like we might have went into that more upbeat, and then once it happens, and I did my best to avoid it. I wasn't. Family. We left.
Yeah, I tried not to watch
terrible city.
I didn't watch any.
Yeah,
live.
I couldn't help it though. I was.
It was on everywhere around me.
Everywhere. It's
I tried not to.
But it should be on.
Yes.
Because stripping the candidates from this, the process of that happening is important. But you kind of need all the other stuff behind it. Like you can't just believe in that one part of it, but then no one's believing in the back end of it. Like that actually dictates what happens in this here union for now. And once it happened, it's as we predicted, I feel like we said, what if they're reelected? These folks got plans, man. They're not messed. They understand now. They have worked in government, and they know. Obviously, it's the stories that we'll talk about later. We'll showcase. Yeah, they're not messing around, and I don't know. It's one of those things for me. It's all right. It's 4 years, and I almost have to live in I don't even want to plan too far ahead. It's almost like in the moment, I need to figure out what it is in the moment because it can change very quickly as we see.
And it is changing very quickly. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to read this thing, the intro that I wrote.
God. Please do, because that's crazy. Yeah, we didn't even do just DJs to ourselves for Tez monologue. Is that the new thing we do? I just
new old thing. This is what we're doing now is real-time trauma process. So there's no right way to do that, and I think that's fine. So we're here. Here we are for the end of it all. Really? I don't know. nothing to do but sit back, watch it all burn around us. We'll continue to bring you the news as we have been, sort of. We'll tell you why things matter. We'll try to make fun of it all while we can, or until we get thrown into the camps. For years, I, and to a lesser extent Tez, but mostly me and him trying to hold me back, I have been warning about this stuff, how fast it can happen. And I was told I was being alarmist, that Trump can't really do some of the stuff, that he didn't really mean a lot of the things that he said, and then it would all be fine. You're overreacting. It's going to be fine, everybody said. This show will stand in strict defiance of any of that. We will report when things are not fine, and we will offer ideas, resources, plans, and options for how you, our listeners, can process the current dumpster fire of the day. But I will not let people tell me that it's all going to be okay when it's really not okay.
I'm always just going to disagree with that, because isn't this the whole pull of how, like, this is what countries do, right? Things happen in countries, and if to say it's not going to be okay would mean that in 100 years the United States isn't going to be standing here.
Yeah, I think it's much less than that.
And outside of climate change, right? I just don't know, to me, if that is a way you if everybody moves that way, right, then it does go that way, right? Because all this stuff is ideas and people buying into it. And if people aren't buying into it for obvious reasons are here, like no one's saying to buy into this, but buying into the idea that in 50 years, all of this is gone. And I could see, again, climate change removed from that. Because we talk about climate change, like, come talk to you. You know what, you might
Yeah.
But in this moment, it's like, oh, okay, there's 2 years, people will experience what they experience, like, and have experienced prior in the former administration that he led. And they won't like it. I don't think it's still like,
oh yeah, but you're foolish enough to believe there's going to be another election. There's not a chance.
But then what happens when that? Okay, but remember what happens when there's not that. A lot of folks make it seem like there's never a response to that. There will eventually be a response to that, because that is what happens. We've seen that happen eventually in many areas of, like, the world. Eventually, someone will respond.
All right, well, we'll play that out, but
the people will respond. There will be a segment of society that will respond to that.
Yeah, I'm not saying that's not going to happen. I'm saying I don't want there to be violence, but
me either. But hey, who am I? Who am I kidding?
Pin in that.
Yeah, who am I kidding?
If people are longtime listeners of the show, they might remember that I used to have these long written pieces where I would, write 3 pages of stuff and then say it to everybody. I would expect returns to some extent of that for long form explanations for the foreseeable future. I would expect that our usual thoughtful, policy driven discussions may veer into more hypothetical and ponderous conversations, as we're just sort of entering into here.
Right.
And that the tiny-handed goblin fucker moves into whatever weirder interpretations of the job, and as his supporters find ever more convoluted ways to explain why Nazi salutes and detention camps are being built, but that it's no big deal. Also, we have a story about soup and, some sports and whatever other stuff. To your thing about, like, okay, I want the United States to exist. I believe in this thing that is the United States very strongly. I want to be clear that people might really not be ready for this in a way.
Yes, I agree there. 100%. Yes.
But I think that everybody needs to be prepared for, like, the unfathomable is very fathomable right now. Okay. So the fact that he might try to postpone an election, one of the things that you mentioned that you like to talk about, that we all like to talk about, is that when these guys say, oh, well, I've got my guns and I'm ready for the federal government and I'm going to fight them. And we all say, oh, what a futile, stupid idea that is, because they've got the army. That's the thing. Okay. He's going to say no more election, and people are going to be upset about that, but not enough people because half of the country is fine with it. and the other half that is not fine with it isn't the army. And so, and unlike the last time there was a civil war when there was a more decentralized federal control of things, and it was conceivable that states could source their own weapons and arm themselves in ways that they could do it with the, evading the gaze of the federal government or evading the sanction of the federal government. There's not a chance on God's green earth that New York or California could amass enough weaponry to try to fight off the federal government. And so our chances at this ends in one of two ways: either a coup internally, if he says no more elections, and the army knocks him off and goes, no, we are a democracy that has elections, and
the Constitution as well. Like that is what they are here and sworn to protect. So,
but I don't know how sworn they are.
I know
they haven't been tested on this.
Yeah, and this is unheard of. Like we can always everything we're talking about is unheard of. There's nothing. I feel like I read a lot of history. There's nothing that's comparable to this. Like even when the framers, I also too like another white man doesn't want to follow the Constitution. Why would I can't imagine them like, but beyond that, you almost are pushing against things that really aren't real, right? Like what's written on the paper is only real because people like believe in it, and the norms were ripped down the first time, right? Like what are the norms? So
there has to be somebody who believes in it strongly enough that they're willing to do things that are extraordinary to restore it should it be imperiled. And I believe that's going to have to happen. So either there's going to be some sort of internal coup where the security forces of the United States knock him over and restore democracy in a way that is recognizable, or there will be something that looks like a civil war, but it won't be as clear-cut north and south or some sort of racial divide line or anything like that. It's going to be pockets of people fighting against a authoritarian government that is going to more closely resemble the sort of worldwide conflicts and non-state actors that we are used to seeing now in the post-war era. And none of those ends in victory, for anything that looks like democracy. It does end in victory for things that look like Vietnam or I don't know which thing you want to pick. Burma, the various civil wars in Sudan. I mean, it doesn't end where like, okay, we had our bout with autocracy, we had a civil war, and we established a robust, solid democracy with peaceful transfer of power for the next 60 years. I don't know an example of that.
But let's combine. Let's just say, all right, we know what's going to happen over the next 4 years, but some of the things we know are his policies are going to cause hyperinflation, right? Massively, right? And we saw what it did to our man Joe. We see, no one could see above it. You think the American people, if they're like, oh wait, hold on, my money is going to build a camp, but the eggs are still too high. I don't think they believe. I don't think that folks believe that strongly, where they'll be like, oh, I'm seeing migrants getting shipped off, but I still can't afford my life. I don't know if that will click. I don't believe that.
To the average Trump voter, if they see that that's what's happening, they are going to say that the reason their eggs are expensive is because of the goddamn Mexicans. And they will not be able to synthesize that these things are actually happening because they have an alternative narrative that is being told to them on a constant basis. There is a different reality for these people, and they are now in charge and creating it in real time.
They're not, but the problem is they're not in charge.
Yeah, but they're falling for it all the time.
In charge. Like the kings, the kings of America, the titan of industry are in charge.
Right, but
they're in charge.
If Trump sees that the people are upset that their eggs are still expensive, he will tell them the reason your eggs are expensive is because of the goddamn Mexicans.
But whose fault is that when he's the president?
The people will say, yes, It is because of the goddamn Mexicans. And then they will not say he's the president now. Look at how much that was the case when he was president the first time. And people would say he would rail against stuff, and they'd be like, but you're president
why did
now.
But he lost because of his handling of the pandemic.
The people are the people who supported him in the first place are now more hardened in their position than they ever have been.
But the numbers also show that the people that supported him were combined with other people that didn't. It's that combines to get him elected.
That voted for Trump in this most recent election, in the 24 election, knew everything. It wasn't like it was an unknown. It wasn't let's vote for him and see what happens. It was a very definite, we know what this is. And they believe there is no innocent Trump voter. There is no accidental. There is no hold your nose and vote Trump voter. They are all complicit in every single thing that he is doing right now. And the things that happen, when they happen, are their things that they asked for to happen. When they then come back and hurt themselves, they will necessarily have to create a fake narrative about what's actually happening and tell it to themselves and convince themselves of that, because they dare not speak the truth and cross dear leader, because of either they would have to admit that they were wrong in the first place, or they fear the repercussions of publicly saying this is because of what dear leader is doing.
These leaders, and again, he's a one-off, but eventually something happens. It breaks, right? It eventually breaks. And this idea that this is going to span some grand new empire, Roman Empire of that is not going to happen. That piece of it, and 4 years might feel like that. Obviously, God knows what ends up happening and what he's able to impart on this country over that time period. But there's always going to be an after this. And when I think about what's going to be after this, there needs to be, we can talk about him for the next 4 years, whatever, that's fine. But how are we still going to create and make a more persuasive argument that we understand because there's a bunch of people still, and I think this is where folks are doing, there's no inward looking. There's still a Democratic Party that we have to figure out where the hell is our messaging going the fuck wrong.
Yeah, that's a problem for another day, because one, I don't believe that this is only going to be 4 years. I see no reason that he's going to leave power. He's been willing to use violence to try to maintain power before. He's now got more capability to do it. He's going to do it again. I think that the question of what comes after this, no matter what it is a scarred populace that has no concept of a shared version of truth and reality. You have a group of people, 350 million people now, who will be so battered by what is happening that they and already with no acceptance of institutional reality, we're all gonna end up like Pakistan. We're sure there might be something that is officially called a government, but everybody's going to be working off of bribery and grift and looking out for themselves. It'll be partisan, it'll be tribal, and it won't be anything resembling some sort of okay, we all play by the same set of rules. Everybody will play by the rules that they can manage at that time. There will not be the old Eisenhower functional democracy.
This is your Chip's American Carnage speech? What is this?
I've been saying this for years. These people have created an alternate reality, and they live in it. They live in it, and now they get to live it for real.
That's fine, and they will live it for real. And I will always believe when it comes to people, right? And again, we don't know there's so many things that can happen, and outside of the control of what's going to happen in the White House, right? I think the pandemic is still one of those things that no one had on their bingo card at that level, right? In 2018, you were not thinking that in 2020 you'd be sitting here especially you, right? Of what you went through with that. There's no way you could have been sitting there yeah, that's what I think. I think something that hasn't been around since 100 years, some type of 100-year disease is going to come through and just affect everyone. And I think as I pause because you never know what else, and it could be something worse. Like things change, like things. There are sometimes forces I feel that will push things, and we don't end up seeing that now, and we'll only connect those dots going backwards. So I'm very worried for what's going to happen, but I know eventually, like, isn't it almost anti-American not to think that America, like, it will not eventually figure it out as a man from my side of the
As Churchill famously said, or maybe didn't actually
maybe he didn't
say.
say that. I don't think he said it.
I think he did, but not quite the way that we
Like
all
the way
say
we, but that's probably American in itself, right? To
to
no
misappropriate a quote.
the quote.
But the quote is something like, "You can always count on the Americans to do the right thing after they've tried everything else." Which, sure.
Also, isn't this guy like squirrel? Like, eventually, where does his attention start to move? Like,
It's already happening in.
like, and
Okay,
he's so
we have
old.
so many stories about that. We're gonna get and he's old and he's decrepit and he's falling apart. But it doesn't matter because if he breaks the system on his way out, then the thing that comes in his aftermath is Tom Cotton or whatever the fuck that is. And it's and it all rides this same wave of grievance and greed and just false reality. It doesn't matter. It
That's
doesn't
here
matter
to
if he's
stay.
Trump. That is here to
Yes,
stay.
that is. I'll agree with that. That's here to stay. I just wonder though, is there a way we can push that back to like a 15-20%? Like
I doubt
30,
it.
like can we get it? Like, what did we say? It's at 35 right now. I'd say
more
probably
than that, I think.
Yeah, I think it's at now 40 is crazy. No, I think it's like a 35% of this population is that, right? If you could kind of like push that back and also persuade and pick off some of these people, like, hey, yo, man, like you see this is crazy. Like, this is why it's crazy. Come on, man. Like this, there's a way to go about this.
There was one person out of the 1,500 that refused the pardon because she was like, "No, I actually did the thing I was, convicted of, and I got to do my time as a result." She was one.
But I'm saying, like, there's no way, and especially us doing like radio, right? Like being able to communicate with people, right? And again, persuading, you're not going to get a bunch of it, but there has to be some like type of persuasion to get people to buy into something the same way they've bought into this madness. And again, I'm not going to get all of those people. I'm not. But again, now I think, how do you pick these people off? When is he? Because eventually he's going to do things that rupture his base or rupture people like that.
Yeah, the way you do it is you let people like me run for stuff where we can demagogue and we can call people other names and we can get out there and act, aggressive towards our perceived enemies or whatever, because apparently that shit sells.
Yes,
If
it does.
If the Democrats had any courage, they would put people like me out there who will go out there and tell Trump to get fucked right to his face all the time. And then we'd win elections. That's where your message is. It doesn't matter what you're saying. It matters how you say it, right? So you get out there and you James Carville their ass and you say, that's what we're doing right now. Get on the bus. And then everybody gets on the bus. I don't know. We're too chicken shit to do the right thing.
Too nice party. Oh my God, this is insane.
You want to see DNC chair Chip? You got it, man. I'll tell you what.
DNC break the chair over your head.
We'll win some damn elections. I don't care what we do. We just stand up there. We point at the other guy. This guy is a child fucker. And then and he goes, "No, I'm not." And you go, "See, the child fucker says he's not." That's exactly what a child fucker would say.
That's there.
Matt Gaetz is a child fucker, and they're in the same party. These guys are all child fuckers. And then you just wait for him to say anything else, and you go, "Sure, child fucker," whatever you say. Election won. Next.
All right. Yeah.
Did anybody else not learn anything in high school about how to win the dozens? That's all elections are. Big cut fight. Tell me I'm wrong.
I'm just trying to move on.
Okay. Well, we're going to hit our first break. Do you have a word?
Oh, God. I mean, there's one in my mind, but I got to try to erase that. Yeah, I got a word.
Okay. All right. So sit back, grab some
Grift.
It's chaos time. You're listening to the best show, the only show, Chip Chat on Beltway Radio and beyond.
Sweeps.
All right, welcome back to Chip Chat here on Beltway Radio and beyond. I'm your host, Chip. With me is Tez.
Fabio.
All right, so now we've come to a part of the show which is called The Rundown. This is where I tell you about some stuff that's going on in the news. If we were professionals, it would sound a little something like this. Yes, that's perfect. It's right there. From Beltway Radio and beyond, I'm Jay Scott Smith and blah, 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 blah. Also, shout out to Jay. Sorry we beat your Lions. Not too sorry. And pretty excited about that. Okay. So this part of the rundown, this is the pardon preamble. Before we get into like all of the stuff here, I do want to talk about a few things that Joey B did on his way out the door. Oh, Brian's back. He's going to play the sound.
From Beltway Radio
There
in
you go.
Washington, D.C., I'm Emmy-nominated TV newsman and just bona fide sexual beast, Jay Scott Smith. And this is the part of the show where I tell some stuff about well, maybe not me, but somebody else is going to tell some stuff about what's happening in the news. So what's going on in the news, fellas?
Thanks, Jay. Okay. So Joey B was president until noon on the 20th of January. And
Yes.
So on his way out the door, he did some important and extraordinary things that even he himself was like, I can't believe I have to do this. He pardoned his siblings and his family, the spouses of his siblings. I think in addition to Hunter, he pardoned like basically everybody in his family. And he also pardoned Tony Fauci, Mark Milley, all the members of the January 6th Congressional Committee and all of the staff associated. He preemptively pardoned a bunch of people who are not guilty and hadn't even been like charged with anything, because he knew that Trump is going to charge them with stuff. Even if they didn't actually do anything illegal, he's going to do it. And so this was like his only way to defend it's crazy, right? It's like before you take your ball and go home, you somehow went and made sure that everybody on the planet recorded the score fairly. And then you're like, all right, now I'm taking my ball and going home. It's extraordinary. He even said so. He said, unfortunately, I have no reason to believe that these attacks on his family are going to change or going to end. He said that they've been subject to unrelenting attacks, threats motivated solely by a desire to hurt me, the worst kind of partisan politics.
I don't disagree.
He had to do it. I don't have any problem with him doing this. I would have thought that he would have done it maybe even more, I guess, or more expansively. But he also pardoned some other people who, like, those, every time there's an administration going out the door, there's always people like, hey, you have a chance to make history, like pardon some of these, sort of like right some of these historical wrongs. Joey B was all about it. He was like racking them up. So among the people who also weren't his family that he ended up pardoning were, some historical figures, right? Some of which are dead, but some of which are still alive or very old. So
this one is dead, Marcus Garvey.
If you can see on the graphic there, Marcus Garvey was now he had been granted clemency a long time ago, basically on condition that he moved to Jamaica. They're like, we'll unconvict you, but you got to get the hell out of the country, which he took smartly because he was all about back to Africa. He's like, well, Jamaica's as close as I can get.
Right.
So
the Black Star Line.
Yeah, right. So he went back to Jamaica. So pardoning Marcus Garvey is a big deal because, you know, if you're a white kid in America, you might know who he is because he briefly gets mentioned in the history books.
Brief, right. Very brief.
But he's not mentioned in detail enough to really tell you why he hasn't been pardoned for so long, which is to say he scared the bejesus out of the white people.
The idea of what he believed, like his thought process of what he believed in, and yeah, it was very jarring for
Yeah, I'm not saying that he was violent or extreme in any way. He wasn't. He was convicted of mail fraud of all things.
That's what he exactly.
So
getting the checks to fund his Black Star, like exactly. It's a very unique story, a very unique American how the federal government usually comes to get you.
Right. So, you know, but the idea of Black self-determination and return to Black empires and the sort of anti-colonial, reverse colonial ideas that he was talking about scared the absolute shit out of white America. And so, of course, he had to go to jail for that somehow. He also, there was a few on this list, but of note to me that really mattered as a Virginian here is Don Scott. So Don Scott was serving as he was the first Black speaker of the General Assembly here in Virginia, and he did that after, you know, he represents a seat in the Tidewater region. He served 7 years in prison on drug charges, and then he got out and he made a career for himself as a community activist and politician and stuff, and he's been very successful at it. It's not like he's hurting for it, but he was owed a pardon, especially because the things that he was convicted for are now legal in 37 states and making Colorado a ton of money. So it was an emotional thing. He did some crying. I think a lot of us here in the Commonwealth felt a point of pride there that one of our own got something that he deserved, which was nice. And then another really big one was Lenny Peltier, who a lot of people don't know, but he was an indigenous activist. He was accused of having shot a couple of FBI agents. There was never any real evidence that tied him to the crime, but apart from the fact that he and many other people were there when the FBI raided the reservation. It's a reservation that became famous again sort of more recently with the what's it called, pipeline that went through there. What was
what is it? North Shore, I'm thinking of New York. No, it's the Keystone, right?
Keystone, right? So the Keystone pipeline, they were trying to run through the same place, and people stood up to it.
Everybody came out. Yeah. They blocked. They made sure that did not happen.
Right. So, but back in 1975, Peltier was convicted of killing these two FBI agents who had raided the reservation, and there was a bunch of them that raided the reservation, and they got in a shootout with the people who lived there. It's not exactly clear if they had justification for being in that sovereign nation.
Right. I was going to say, well, hold on. It's like, what do you think is going to happen?
I mean, they had a warrant, but it's not really. I mean, look, it's the 70s. It's not like a real warrant. They obviously could have just got anything that said they could do anything, and they didn't really respect Native American rights.
I feel like the Supreme Court has to give you like a warrant to run on the reservation.
Well, according to Neil Gorsuch, all of Oklahoma belongs to them. So, it's one of these things where, like, imagine if, I don't know, New Zealand showed up in Florida with a warrant that was like, we've got a warrant for Marco Rubio, and then all of Florida was like, the fuck you do, Kiwis. And what do you think they would do? They would shoot at them, right? And then, yeah, and why shouldn't the people in North Dakota or whatever be the same? I don't.
He deserves the pardon. No,
It's one of these things where, like, the sort
and
of
he's ill as well too, right?
yeah, he's 90 years old. He's been in jail for a really long time, and he's not doing great. And it's not like he's a risk. He's not going to like go shoot up the rest of the FBI. It's just I don't
Cash
know.
tells him to do that.
Right? Yeah, he's a different kind of Indian. So ding.
I gave it to you. You didn't hear me.
Yeah, thank you. This is not okay.
No.
No, we don't do that. But like, it's one of these things where like the presumption of the dominant in group is like wild, where they go like, oh well, of course they should have listened, they should have complied, and the FBI had a warrant, and you're like, if you were in that situation, would you have complied? And the answer is absolutely not.
No, someone's coming to to do harm to me. I don't know who they are.
Yeah.
And even if I did, I'm in a sovereign nation. This is what is the FBI coming into my nation? Like,
there's not a chance in hell that, like, people are like, oh well, if they don't want the heat, get out of the kitchen. It's like, well, the kitchen came to them, number one, and number two, like, if anybody came onto your territory and was like, get on the ground, what? No, no, you're in my front yard and you're telling me what to do? Get the fuck out of here. There's nothing more American than that. Standing your ground against somebody coming in telling you what you're gonna do
on your property. No
shit. We were the colonists were occupying Indian land and telling the British to get the fuck lost.
This is my land now.
Okay? Yeah. This is mine.
This is mine.
You don't get to tell me what to do. And then like, oh yeah, shut up, Squanto. I'm having a fight with the British now. Listen, you Tory motherfuckers, you don't tell me what to do. This is America. Shut up, Squanto. Unbelievable.
I don't know. I think obviously you do these pardons, that's fine. I think whether it's the ones you just mentioned or the 2,500 people, I think that was for like non-criminal, I feel like low level though, right? Huge. I think even another one we think about all the people off of federal death row outside of people.
That was a huge deal. Basically everybody but two, Tsarnaev and the guy who shot up the church in Charleston.
Yes.
Yeah. Dylan Roof. Yeah.
But like all of those,
I'm okay with killing both of them, by the way. That's fine.
Yeah, he's like
that's
the thing is the family ones, you gotta just kind of eat that, and no matter what, like, it gives the one is going to be all the pardons that we're going to talk about a little later. People are going to say, well, this gives the green light, and whatever, cool, if you want to go down that road. But I think person beating United States Capitol Police officer over the head, different than son who has an addiction problem, who does something that everybody else does, and who owns guns, and they don't even prosecute. This is also a crime that he only was prosecuted for because his name is
Hunter notwithstanding, right? Like Biden's in-laws, for example, he pardoned them preemptively, who haven't actually done anything that anybody, there's nothing pending, there's nothing real here. It's the fact that he could be dead, and these people, the Trump people, could still go after them and try to put them in jail because of some concocted fake story. And they
needless to say, I think that the actual pardon power, we've never seen it used like this.
No, because we've never really had a situation where, when you hear about things happening in like North Korea or, some sort of despot regime, or even like in Russia where, Navalny's lawyers are thrown in jail. It's like, for what? For being his lawyers. That's what. And you're like, well, what are the actual charges? And you look, and they're like the most false, ridiculous thing you could possibly imagine. That's what's gonna happen, was gonna happen to everybody. And the Trump people will just look for like the edge of that pardon and find the next closest person in, and they will go after them. Make no mistake, Kash Patel is going to go after everybody who's ever worked at the DNC or whatever, because he's going to say they're part of the Biden crime family or whatever. And he's going to say, oh, well, we're charging them with mail fraud. And you go, in what way? And they're like, well, we'll tell you once we get the evidence. And, you know,
the judiciary becomes very, very intriguing. Like, we have now moved away from a long time ago of like Congress passing laws, which still passes obvious laws to like reconciliation or whatnot. That obviously is going to happen. But I'm saying that we're moving away from like Congress passing laws. We're at a stage where the executive, with a very friendly, beyond friendly Supreme Court, is able to enact declarations from the executive branch. And now the only challenge is people allowed to go and challenge these things in court, which obviously go whatever. I mean, granted, we've seen today just the birthright citizenship, like there was but where does that go when it gets to the highest court? And we know the majority there is slim to thin to none.
Yeah, and it's not even really about the court things, because if anybody who has ever bumped into the criminal justice system in any way, shape, or form knows how damaging it can be, even when you are ultimately vindicated.
Yeah.
You know, the accusation alone can be life-altering. The investigation can be traumatic, damaging, sometimes deadly. And even if you're ultimately cleared, of which there are hundreds of thousands of people who are ultimately cleared every year of things that they've been accused of, the actual experience of it is as bad as having been convicted. And so the Trump people know that even if they know that they couldn't get a conviction that would stick, it wouldn't matter to them. It would be about roughing people up, searching them, destroying their lives, destroying their houses, all of that kind of thing. It's a very Nixonian sort of idea of like using the IRS as a weapon. It's using the DOJ as a weapon. Kash Patel and all of these guys
Some of this is
going to do
the
that.
reason we haven't seen it is because of the laws that were enacted after him.
After Nixon, right? People kind of could predict the logical extension of, if Nixon had managed to do some of these things, where would it have gone? Let's put these safeguards in place to stop that from happening, like the Presidential Records Act, for example, which then somehow you can just put your shit in the bathroom and it doesn't matter. The other thing that I want to remind you, I'm gonna hit this several times tonight, and I want to remind everybody else, is that like you can't unring a bell. So if Trump, let's say, builds detention camps, separates families, and detains thousands of people in detention camps, and then 2 years later it eventually makes it through the court and it gets struck down, the damage is done. The damage is done, and he got what he wanted, which was to harm people. That's one. Number two, as I keep mentioning, the courts don't have any way to enforce their authority. So even if they rule you can't do X, Y, or Z, Trump can and has said, oh yeah, make me. And then it is really a question of how can the U.S. Marshals or somebody force the executive branch to comply with the will of the court order. As you mentioned, when the white men set up the country, they basically couldn't conceive of another white man disobeying another white man in a lawful order.
What?
So there's like an understood rule that when you both have a disagreement, you either settle it A, with a duel, or B, in court. And if you lose in court, you go have a duel. But you take your L and you go back and you try to rewrite it or do it again. You try to lawyer your way out of this. The Trump people have figured out. They just go, no. And Bannon's like really keen on all of this flooding the zone stuff. This is kind of an example of that. Is like, just do everything anyway and challenge anybody to stop you, physically stop you, not legally stop you, but physically stop you. He said it about the election. He's like, yeah, we're just going to declare victory no matter what. And he's going to, and then like, and force them to keep us out.
And they attempted that.
They did. So the other thing in the preamble, just before Trump did get elected, is the opening grift, which is that he created a fake Beanie Baby, or what is it called? A meme coin?
Meme coin.
Yeah. That people could buy, that they couldn't own, that they couldn't spend, that they would never actually physically have. Also, what an incredible picture of like Trump and Melania. And that's not Brian changing the color on that, by the way. That's just what it looked like in the image. It's stunning, really. The look on her face is, yeah. $40 million Bezos paid her for that. Yeah. In any case, so he created this meme coin, which is a crypto fake nonsense bullshit thing. Apparently people are buying it and selling it to each other or something. I don't know what they do with these things. And it said it's raised tens of billions of dollars. I don't know how again, I just want to be very clear about all these things. They're only worth money when you can cash them in and sell them to people for US dollars, right? You can't spend it.
Yeah. So, you better do it now.
You better do it fast, right? If you're gonna get into
the idea is once you're on the front end of one of these things and you cash out as fast as possible, because these only work that someone has to be holding it.
It's not like a Babe Ruth rookie card where like it's gonna continue to go up in value, right? This thing is only valuable for as long as people are interested in it, and it's immediately going to disappear.
But again, because the Babe Ruth card is always going to do that, because history, the lore of baseball, and baseball is going to continue. Like whatever this is, and it's a tangible item as well. This here, it's you having your meme coin. I don't necessarily think that's something that's going to continue people on. So,
Brian, what happened?
Did we lose you?
You froze for a minute.
You did as well.
Okay, well then it's all Brian's fault.
No, that's insane. I think everything was fine. I'm pretty sure the audio was still going, so that's all that matters.
Right, because this is a radio show. So anyway, he created a digital Beanie Baby. Idiots bought it. Idiots bought it from other idiots, and somehow Trump made money on it. So
look,
I don't know.
The beginning. It's just the beginning.
Yeah, right.
It's just the beginning.
He's going to issue a meme coin every week. It's going to be like infrastructure week coin.
Again, but a lot of reporting also with this is that people who actually believe in crypto are like, wait, no, I don't think this is smart. It's kind of like going against everything. Like it's not helping our cause of trying to make this something which again, we can question about how we ever.
I don't think any of the crypto bros actually believe in, we're remaking money and changing currency. I think they are all just grifters.
Again, these things are ideas. The only reason the damn thing is $100,000 right now is because people believe that.
And it's $100,000.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
It's when they can sell it for real money.
But the idea behind it to get it even to that is it turns it into a currency because someone on the other end believes the same thing this is a real thing.
Until they don't. Until they don't.
Yeah. We saw that when it dipped. Anytime it dips, I mean, that's a bunch of people believing like, oh no, I think again, I want to go get my real dollars.
Well, or imagine like you had signed R. Kelly record, and then it's like nobody wants to touch that with a 20-foot pole. It's valueless, and that's just because of like the circumstances that change. So I just want to like continue to remind people.
But let's think about this, and no one wants to think about this other point about it. Let's say there's some fucking nasty men out here who like that type of stuff, and people still want to trade in that, and there's enough people in there, then it does become valuable in that other market.
Then they got to talk to Ross Ulbricht, who's out of jail.
That's insane.
I just want to remind everybody that until you can like buy stuff with any of these meme coins, when you can buy pizza with your Mickey Mantle rookie card, and you don't have to turn it into dollars first, then it is money. Before, if you ever have to sell it to turn it into money to then buy something with, it's just a Beanie Baby. So join us next week on SoFi's new Beanie Baby FTX Sam Bankman-Fried Stadium baseball card-a-thon. or whatever.
Kind of long.
They're all stupid. Doesn't the Hot Tua girl owe $1 billion for like a fake meme coin or something like that?
Oh yeah, I mean, but is the SEC gonna matter?
No. I'm just saying that people are just stealing from each other. They're all idiots. Everybody involved in it is stealing from each other. That's all. Regulation, forget that. I'm just talking about, like, if you're dumb enough to participate in this, buy your stuff, sell it immediately, get it into real money, and do something with it that they can't take back from you, like go on a trip.
But when a country gets involved with this, as it seems that this administration plans to do, that changes things with it.
They're still trying to trade it in for dollars.
Exactly. But the idea behind it, again, it makes the grift much larger.
Oh, sure.
It's that's the point. And someone holds the bag at the end of this, and the bag will,
ask anybody about Mount Gox. Okay, and then find out how hollow all this bullshit is. My mom's got several hundred Beanie Babies in a closet. So
there was a time I tried. I don't know where I was at this point, but I remember. I think there was a mall in Columbia that was buying them from insane prices. Like one, you could sell one for like $120. Like, and I remember begging my mom. I was like, I saw it ahead of time. I said, they're paying real money for these things. These things cost like $10, and I think they wouldn't budge on it. Biggest loss we ever had. I never forget. It was a little kiosk buying them, and I could have sold them to. And I got out on DVDs that way as well too. Yeah, DVDs, sold them all before it was done. I saw it ahead. I was like, gotta get out now. But
you're smarter than me. I still got a bunch.
Yeah, I got the DVDs out here, but. No, the grift begins.
Okay, so speaking of that, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a break. Then we're going to come back with the next segments.
Next sad of the show. Next sad half of the show. Quarter.
Middle half of the show. I don't know what to even call it at this point. This is also, if you missed us from 4 years ago, right? This is a little bit before Tez, but like if you missed us during the first Trump administration, you remember how that show would come like fast and furious, and we would hit the air every night not knowing like what had changed from the time that we printed the show to the time that we did the show. We're back to that. So just bear with us, hold on, get a seatbelt, something. It's all just going to go faster and crazier and like I don't know what to tell you. All right, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take a break. We'll come back. You're listening to Chip Chat on Beltway Radio and beyond.
Sweeps.
Street ball.
We won, you mad, it's done, too bad, boo-hoo, so sad. We won, you mad, you cry, we laugh, we wave the flag. Thank God that we're back, couldn't take another 4 years. That's a wrap, I can take a bath in your tears. That's a fact, you got lipstick all on your beard. You're a man, that is cap, 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 cap. You pretending you're accepting, that's an act. You hear pat, 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 pat. If you want our freedom, come and take it back. Bet you can. We won, you mad, it's done, too bad. Boo-hoo, so sad. We won, you mad, you cry, we laugh, we wave the flag.
They try to cancel me and say that I'm a racist. Got a mean hook, they can't get me with that jab. Trying to take away my right to go and say this. Well, listen up, cause this gun is going bad. With the facts. Why they trying to turn Becky into Dan? You get screw Eminem, I'm Roseanne.
We won, you mad, it's done, too bad, boo-hoo, so sad. We won, you mad, you cry, we laugh, we wave the flag. If you mad about it, go and cry about it. Shave your head and wear a shirt that says you're woke. If you can't handle a lot of facts and make up lies about it, say goodbye to Joe, your daddy's coming home. We won, you mad, it's done, too bad, boo-hoo, so sad, now your daddy's home. We won, you mad, you cry, we laugh, we wave the flag, now your daddy's home. We won, you mad, it's done, too bad, boo-hoo, so sad. We won, you mad, you cry, we laugh, we wave the flag. Now your daddy's home.
What? Okay.
First of all, I hit
it.
mute
I
immediately
just
when
sent
it
to
came off.
Brian. What? That was Roseanne rapping.
That was really Roseanne.
That was really Roseanne.
The Roseanne Barr.
Yes, Roseanne Barr. Including a line, they want to turn Becky into Dan. What?
That was a wild line.
That's I think we might be the only people who actually consume MAGA rap.
This is bad for my health, and we have to figure out we can't cut off the handles at the end. Like we can't that,
or they get spammed or something. I mean, like
maybe
I don't even really know what to call that thing that we just saw, but
that was really Roseanne rapping.
That was really Roseanne, and I guess the economy was so bad they all just could get Corvettes for that video. So. That was really Roseanne, and that was really her rapping. Yeah, I don't know how many takes it took. Also, she said "fuck Eminem," so that's a pretty good, pretty bold statement from Roseanne, shaking her ass. That was really Roseanne.
Yeah, I keep asking that. It's like it was really Roseanne.
That was really Roseanne with blonde cornrows and braids.
Insane.
That was something. Okay. All right, now we come to a part of the show called "What the fuck did he do this week?" This is going to be a recurring segment. This first one is called Foot Soldiers. This is about the pardons, of course. So Trump gave a blanket pardon to everybody that committed all of the felonies on January 6th. It's about 1,500 people so far that have been convicted. He pardoned all of them, including the violent ones, including your cousin Enrique, and
yes, he was one of the first ones out.
Yep, and Stuart Rhodes, Rhodes is like out here talking about, oh yeah, he wants to be made Secretary of Retribution and stuff, which is an interesting choice for him, right? Because, well, let's just say he couldn't see it coming from one side, but he can only see it coming from the other. I would like to point out, why is it okay to make fun of Stuart Rhodes for having an eye patch and only one eye? Do you know?
I don't know, but I don't feel like this joke is ADA compliant.
No, it's not. But he shot himself in the eye. So he did not get that serving or doing anything important. He shot himself.
It wasn't a fall.
Yeah. No, he didn't even do it while he was in the service. He just shot himself. Or stabbed himself. He injured himself, and it was only a little bit before the January 6th riot. So he's playing pirate. Yar.
Playing pirate is wild.
Yeah. So your cousin's out, and Bobo was down there at the jail trying to get everybody out faster. So Brian, if you want to, get a chance to meet her, apparently all you got to do is punch some cops. And then you get invite. He's inviting them to the White House, by the way.
Oh God! Will they get McDonald's?
Yeah, they're gonna get McDonald's. That's what happens, right? So, but here's the thing that is important about this. Ruth Ben-Ghiat, who studies all of the fascism and authoritarian leaders and stuff, she writes about this a lot. Really, really brilliant. I have not read her books. Don't worry. I just read her articles and listen to her on the radio. Has talked about how this is the playbook. This is the fascist playbook. So Mussolini did this. Pinochet did this. What's his name in Spain did this. Franco. Yep. And of course, Hitler did this. So what you do is you get in power, then you free the criminal elements of your party. And in this case, you pardon them. What stops them from being Trump's personal militia at this point? They can't be arrested for this again, as long as they're doing it in federal places. So they could come to DC, which is entirely federal, and they could go around, I don't know, claiming that they've been deputized to do X, Y, and Z. And if they get captured again, they'll just pardon them again, or not. I mean, maybe they can't even get captured. Maybe again, people are like, oh, well, that's crazy. That's alarmist. They're never going to be able to do that.
No, I don't think that's the case.
What stops them?
No.
I mean, the example that this set and the aftermath thereof, it's been just 4 days. We've already seen this. You've got the Klan throwing flyers all around Kentucky, asking to be deputized to
enforce this
the immigration stuff.
law. I did see that.
Yep. They're talking about smashing churches and hospitals and schools, disaster recovery areas, all kinds of things or places where you're not supposed to be going after anybody. You know, they remember Trump said, we're not going to forget our God right before he said, we're going to send ICE into your church. It's fucking
very weird. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. Just, poetic almost.
I don't even believe in God. And I'm like,
whoa. Oh, that's just...
It's like, that's a church, man.
Seems offensive, right?
Yeah, that seems offensive to people who do believe in things.
Yeah, right? Anyways,
The evangelicals are fine with it somehow. Now, there are people who have been telling me that, hey, this isn't polling well, right? That people, even Republicans, are like, hey, you shouldn't have pardoned the violent people. They attack cops. We stand, back the blue.
Fraternal Order of Police came out against this.
Yeah, I don't think it matters. Do you think it matters? Do you think that any opposition, quote unquote opposition to these pardons, do you think it actually?
Well, let's just use like the Fraternal Order of Police, right? And this just looked like back to the whole scenario around what removes him. Do you put law enforcement, do you put the military in the positions where they're like, no, this isn't what I signed up. Like I know there's a segment that believes in that, but again, these people got beat. I think the police are the biggest gang, right? And they're like, wait, hold on, they whooped. Wait, that's one I think that there is not much wavering. I think there are some people like okay, like whatever, like yeah, he let them out. They were sightseeing, whatever it might be. But I do think that's where you'll start to see it shake a little bit. Like law enforcement, no one in law enforcement looks at that and says, "Oh, I feel great about that." Like, at least as I understand this, in how they usually move, right? Like, does the union feel that way?
It matters.
That matter. I mean, to matter, that's yet to be seen. I mean, there would be. That's why I go back to there would be some type of resistance, I would assume, because
I mean, I think for the people who are like legit cops who are really out there for that, yeah, I think that this bothers them deeply, and but I think that for a lot of the people who claim that they support law enforcement, what they mean is they support white supremacy and their general impunity in the way that they act and being able to pull guns on people in gas stations or whatever. They don't actually. So when the white guy pulls a gun on a black woman in a gas station because she got to the pump before he did, which is a video I saw this week. When the cops get there, he doesn't tell them how much he loves and respects them. What happens is they arrest him for pulling a gun on somebody and, threatening her and, attempted murder, essentially. And I don't know, that's what I'm saying. Like these guys that, they ride around with the flags or the stickers and stuff. But what they mean is they back their personal impunity, not the actual police.
And this individual allowed people to people wearing crazy costumes and all this to go whoop on. I don't think the police take kindly to. I think and again, it's not going to be everyone, but you're chipping off a few people. Like how many can you chip off? Where can you chip these people off? But like the damage is still going to happen. People are still going to be hurt. Like these people are on the street now. That's not good. That's terrible.
It's not good.
Really not good.
And for the group,
and their loyalty is to Donald
Trump, right? So this is another thing that Ben Ghiat's always talking about is that this is a transactional thing, that he's giving them their liberty in exchange for their loyalty. And so, and the more that he can find similar opportunities to grant people things in exchange for their transactional loyalty to him, he's likely to do it, because this is part of the playbook. To the people who are cops, who are, these people who believe in, we are the line between chaos and society, which I think often is a justification for them to commit violence.
Wild out, yeah.
Yeah. I think that this does bother those people, those kind of cops, because they see this. I think it's important to mention, like, why did the cops get beat up that day? It's because they were basically prevented from doing what cops would normally do if they were getting beaten on, which is shoot everybody. They didn't shoot everybody because everybody was white. Now these marauding white people are out here with a pardon and the ability to continue to commit violence against law enforcement as they see fit, as if the law enforcement no longer is the one in charge. And I do think that is a thing that bothers a lot of cops, is not being the one in charge. Right?
The streets are theirs.
Yeah, right. The cops have this idea that they run the streets. We're the police. We make the rules. Everybody's got to do what we say. Is force protection, force projection. I'm sorry, is what the thing that they like to use. And this flies in the face of that. What do you mean these guys have got to beat us up and didn't pay for their sins? That I think that bothers them. But I don't think it moves the needle.
I mean, but like when it I wonder who our friend Fanone, I wonder how he's processing this.
Well, he's been on TV talking about it, and he barely made it out of there alive, and several people did die. And I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be super shocked to find out, if in the future some former Capitol Police officer who survived that ordeal is, suffering from mental health challenges as a result thereof, finds out that these people got away, because of course they got victim statements, right? They had to be warned as the victims of their crimes. And then goes and does something about it. I wouldn't be shocked to find out that happens. I'm not saying I support that happening.
Yeah, no, of course not. But
I think that that's a possibility.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sort of a human response, right? If somebody got away with beating you up and had pled guilty, most of these people pled guilty. It's not like they got beat in court. It's like they admitted to it. They were proud of it. If somebody not only got off for doing it, but somehow got like access to power as a result of beating you up, and you had a way to go after them, yeah, you might do that. Not saying you should. I'm just saying it might happen. Okay. We have to talk about this other thing that also fits in the category of what the fuck did he do this week? And this one isn't Trump, but it is tangential.
Oh, I know exactly what he did.
We all know exactly what he did, except
no, it doesn't seem
the ADL.
That's it. I don't even want to go too deep with that, because that could be its own separate show. But I don't even know how. That's in what?
That's the ADL trying not to get on a list. Which I don't know why they did that, because hey guys, we're all Jewish. We're on the list.
I was like, what?
It's a list. They already got us. We're right there. All they do is they check your pants. They go, yep, no, he's Jewish, on the list, and that's it. That's it. Not that's the real reason they have the transgender bans going into effect. They want a potty police so that they can check who's Jewish and not.
Oh God, that's.
Yeah. Let me see in your pants.
Yeah.
Why? We want to see if you're transgender or not. You sure? Because definitely not. I'm like, no. We want to see it. Okay, here you go, buddy. If that's what you're into.
These idiots have sullied the Capital One Arena. It's been
yeah.
I can't go to a Caps or a Wizards game without thinking what
they shit on the walls. Just think you're sitting in the same seat as some Trumpista, and wearing red because you're wearing a Caps jersey.
That's my red Nats has to go back and I got to sport it for 4 years without work. Now
that's too risky.
Too risky.
Looks a little too close to it.
Gotta go to the Navy. No, this is insane.
Okay, so here's what we got to talk about, and I don't know if Brian's got the video or if we even really want to show the video. But Elon, Elon is there. He is. There's a video or the image of Elon doing a Nazi salute. I really don't know what else to describe this. If you're listening and therefore you can't see the video, you know what a Nazi salute looks like. Elon did it twice. And the full one, not just with the hand, the little flip which you see in the movies, you know, when the officers walk past each other. No. It was the full like pound on his chest and then you know. Before anybody gets into this whole, it was a Roman salute. That never actually existed. There was no Roman salute. That is a false narrative that was made up by the fascists during Mussolini's time. It's not a real thing. There's no historical evidence of that ever being a thing in ancient Rome. So just you know, you can cut that one out. Also, blaming it on him being awkward and autistic. I'm gonna say personally, I have several friends who are autistic.
I've never seen them.
They've never seen them do that. They do a bunch of awkward shit, right? I mean, it's depending on your level of you know, where you are on the spectrum or whatever. I from all kinds of twitching and hand flapping and you know, sensitivity to light and noise and all kinds of other things.
I've never seen him doing Nazi.
I never had an autistic friend walk up to me and give me a Heil Hitler. That's just not a. I don't think that's in the diagnosis. Is that where in the DSM is the Nazi salute? So Elon did this thing, and look, and then he's like trolling about it, right? He instead of saying categorically, as a friend of the show, Joe Walsh, pointed out on Twitter, he's like, Elon could just say, I don't want, this was not a Hitler salute. I don't support Hitler. I don't support the Nazis.
Why would he say
a Nazi is bad?
He's South African.
But he's not saying that, right? Instead, he's talking about he's using famous Nazi personalities like Goebbels and Goering in bad trolling pun jokes, which is true, and I saw it on his own Twitter. So I think he means it, and I think also, you know, somebody like Elon, he's like one of these guys who's like, I bet you I can get away with this, and then he does it, and then he gets away with it. So then he's like, well, what else can I get away with? When people tell me I'm being alarmist and that the Nazis aren't actually going to come and take me and my family and put us in camps, and then this kind of thing happens, and also to shout out to like NBC and the rest of the networks who somehow edited it out when they were talking about this. They cut to the crowd in showing this video, and so then therefore tried to limit how many people saw this / lie about whether they were covering it or not. I don't think you should call me an alarmist anymore. I think when you're seeing it happen live with the first buddy, it's a problem. It's real. And,
I mean, but there's a problem in Charlottesville. It's been a problem, like, you can go back, like, it's been a problem since the initial war.
Yeah, but right? That's what I'm saying is when I tell people that like Trump and his group are associating with Nazis, and therefore if you're supporting him, you are also associating with Nazis, and they go, nah, he's not really associating. And you go, look, he called them very fine people in Charlottesville, and they go, he's just being cordial or whatever, blah, blah, blah. It's like each instance of it, they're trying to explain this down into something that it isn't, instead of saying, ooh, I think I might have gotten in bed with the fucking Nazis. Like, just as a rule, if the Nazis think a thing that the guy that you support is doing is a good thing, don't be that. You should not ever have a point of agreement with the Nazis. I don't know why we have to even say that.
The question I asked is, I don't know, but then, right, to being afraid of the members of the United States government acting this out, right? One, there's going to be some type of resistance to that, right? That's not about like the same way if you was like, oh, we're about to put black people back into shackles, there's going to be I will let you know. And from the history that I know about your people, after that war, there's a different thought process around we're not playing around. I think some of that, like in the state of Israel, you know,
maybe a little too far over there.
But I forgot there's a poet who writes after that and says that the Jewish people are too passive and like right, and it's almost he's a man saying this to be like, and that changes, right? Like folks are like, that is a different. There is no more of this. Oh, we're just no. That is not how I understand, or anybody that I'm friends with. I do the show with you every week. I think you're an example of exactly right. So, but there will be a resistance to that. But I don't think that's any reason not to be like, ayo, the person who is the first. I don't know what would you call him again.
The first buddy. That's
first buddy, right? The first buddy. Yeah, that's not. And this guy, people always like, well, why would you want to buy Twitter? It was clear then.
Yeah.
You want to control information.
Yeah.
You want to control the information. And when you go do that, and then you have a information source, like that is obvious. I haven't been on there in a long time, but from what I hear, you know, there's a lot of that going on. A lot of, you know, like throwing our hands up in crazy ways that only a few folks did. And when they did it, you know, they wreaked havoc. And okay, eventually there was a world war about it. And yeah, you can't look away from that. And that's the question I have. It's like, what do people like? There eventually will be there is no resistance right now. Obviously, I think people are at a point of like, I don't know what to do. I don't think that will be it forever though.
I think it's gathering ammunition, really. I don't think it's not there. It's just we're gathering up all this stuff. I don't know. I mean, could Elon go to Israel right now? I mean, could you imagine that? Let's say Trump goes to Israel to go hang out with his best friend Bibi, and Bibi would be like, "Hey, guy, you know, thanks for the bombs and all that stuff and all the kind things that you say about me, but what's up with your buddy?" You know, and then Trump's going to be like, he's, you know, Elon's just weird. And then
but he makes great cars. The cars are great.
Yeah. And then Bibi's going to be like, yeah, about that though. Like, we'd like to have a
allowed to, but does he ask that? Does he even ask? Because then that's a question. Then
that's what I don't know.
People have to ask a question at that point, right? Like I would think anybody who's Jewish, right? You have to ask a lot of questions, right? I don't know. I can't speak. So I'm not Jewish. I can't speak for Jewish people, but like it's insane. It's insane that happened.
The only thing that I don't know, right? And obviously I'm not the spokesman of the entire tribe,
right?
But in the same way that like Tim Scott like did all the shucking and jiving until somebody was like, hey, this thing, and then he was like, excuse me, that's a line we're not crossing. You know, he's like, I'll participate in all the white supremacy, but as soon as somebody's calling an N-word, we're having a fight.
Yeah.
I think that
it's crazy to me. It's kind of like I get it, but it's like okay, but like it's even interesting that the word right specifically could be something, right? And the media does this all the time when someone says the word, right? Like let's just say someone on the air, whoever person who said it, like whatever. But then that is what we focus on versus kind of the larger issues around. Like, but you're right, yeah. Tim Scott will be like, no, we're not moving around. We're not saying that.
Yeah, so that's what I'm.
Is this the line that can't be crossed? I would hope so.
One of the things that the Israelis have been successful at over all these years is sort of playing the American right for support for all of this stuff, And I think it's always been with this understanding of like, we'll take their money and we'll take the political support. We're going to use it to do things like, burn villages and settle their lands and do all of this other stuff. But when they then flip and say, okay, now it's time for the apocalypse that we were waiting for and everybody needs to convert so Jesus can come back, we're going to just tell them to get fucked and shoot at them with their own weapons, I guess. That's been my read on this for a long time. We might be a little closer to it now than I had expected to ever be.
And here's my thing. If I was China, I would be, oh my God, I would be looking at this and I'd be like, perfect, cool. And I would be like, how do we strengthen our relationships here? Like, how does that, because there's still, regardless, the state of Israel needs another nation that it connected to it, right? Like, there's always been that, whether it's been Britain, whether it's been the United States, right? But that doesn't always have to be the United States.
It might not. And China, if China's looking for a wedge, they found it.
That's again. That's
hey, Israel, you sure you really want to be in with these guys?
Right, for real? Like
actual Nazis.
I feel like Xi Jinping just laughing. I just feel like he would just be like, why would they do that?
Well, and it also, to the thing that you always talk about, is like, here is this, China's always sort of saying, are you sure everybody wants democracy?
Yeah.
Because look at what it gives you.
Crazy chaos.
Look at this chaos. We don't have that kind of chaos here in China.
And then this gets back to the bigger question of America, where it's always going to get back to is then how do we start persuading people? Like, once you lose it, sometimes it can be gone. Like, and maybe you're right. Maybe what is it? The horse is out the barn, like it's going, like cart, whatever you want to pick it. It's not even like a horse; it's like a cart by itself, just rolling down the hill on fire.
Right? Yeah. I was going to say horses. I was going to say like a confused wombat or something. Right. Like something really non sequitur.
There's something burning, rolling,
like a bison on fire with a space shuttle tied to it, or something like totally destructively stupid. I don't know. I don't know.
He definitely did it though.
Yeah. And then he was like, why is everybody calling me Hitler? It's like, well,
only a few people do that. The man himself, and then like everybody who is like, we want to bring that back.
Yeah. I don't know. I just I don't know. I'd like to remind everybody that certain things are like acceptable, and punching Nazis is one of them. So if you ever see somebody who is self-declaring, like maybe by thrusting their hand up in the air in such a fashion, it's an awkward autistic gesture that your fist happened to land on their face, I guess, and that's unfortunate. FAFO, I guess. I don't know. We're deep in the FO part of the FAFO equation already for the Trump voters. So that's great. Okay, let's talk about birthright. So at the time that we got this show together, Trump had issued this executive order where he was going to try to get around birthright citizenship. And the important thing here regarding birthright citizenship is actually a weird thing that like we discuss on this show a lot, right? Because as an American, this is so deeply ingrained in the way that I look at things. I can't understand how you aren't English despite having been born in England. Somehow Trump can understand that though. So
he's like, oh no.
So the Constitution has the 14th Amendment, which was added after the Civil War. I think it was 1868 that it was finally ratified. Mm-hmm. And it was specifically, the first sentence of it is about citizenship. And it's and what they had to do is work out this problem that there wasn't anything that defined what American citizenship was before the Civil War. It was just sort of taken that if you were a white person in America, you were a citizen and afforded the rights thereof. But then what are you going to do with all these now emancipated black folks? And are they citizens or not?
That you've already declared could never be citizens of the United States.
Right. That, yeah, right. Yes. That the original setup made them 3/5 of a person and not citizens and made them property. So how do you fix that? Because they're here and they're people and they're emancipated, and it is
because free black people before that were not citizens.
Right. They were just black folks living in America.
Right.
So anyway, the 14th Amendment is written with this thing that says that all people born in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens. And forever, 150 years, this was taken to mean two things. One, if you're born in the United States, you are and not a diplomat, right? Like if you're not the children of diplomats who are here not subject to the jurisdiction thereof,
right? Because
they're here, they have immunity. Diplomatic immunity also comes with it, not subject to the jurisdiction thereof.
Right.
That they're not that, but everybody else would be a citizen. And it also has been understood to mean that if you were born in a place that wasn't in the United States but subject to the jurisdiction thereof, like say the Canal Zone, John McCain, or Guam, or like a military base overseas, or in an American embassy overseas, that you were a citizen. The Trump people are trying to say that people who are born here to parents who are undocumented are not subject to the jurisdiction thereof, and therefore aren't granted citizenship immediately. Now, there's a mechanical problem with the way the executive order was written, which is there's no such thing as a citizen card in the United States. You have to get a passport and stuff. And non-citizens can have social security cards, so that doesn't exactly work there either. And birth certificates are given out by states, not by the federal government. And he doesn't have any jurisdiction over how the states do those kind of things. So like there's a mechanical issue of this is not really enforceable or practical in some sense of it. But also there's this, if you're saying that people who are born to parents who are undocumented are not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States because they're here without the permission of the United States, in some ways you're effectively conferring upon them the powers of diplomatic immunity. So maybe, sure, they're not citizens, but they can also just never be arrested.
Right.
They're not subject to the jurisdiction thereof. If your argument that they don't have citizenship because they're not subject to the jurisdiction thereof, then it also has to go the other way, that they're also not subject to the jurisdiction thereof. So if you go to try to arrest them, to deport them, you can't do that. You don't have rights to grab them. They're diplomatically immune. They can do whatever the hell they want. They can hit you with their car. It's fine. And, that's how look, we're DC kids. We know a lot about diplomatic immunity. It affects the way that we drive around here. You see those plates, you can stay the hell away from that car.
Because if something happens, it's just whatever.
Right. They can hit anybody. They don't care. Like fix that pedestrian cyclist problem that has.
Your insurance is going to go up, not
right.
Because they don't.
They drive in the bike lane. They're like, sorry, I'm from France. We don't understand this. And then they just like leave. There was a case of that not too long ago where there was
someone's just like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think he was from Britain, and then he fled back. I think they got extradited. But anyway, the point is that like you can't have it both ways. So like he got beaten in court so far already, which I think was obvious. The judge who was appointed by Reagan ruled that he called it blatantly unconstitutional, which it is. And he put a 14-day stay on this, and it was already going to not take effect until the middle of February because they again, there's this mechanical problem with like, I don't even know how this works, but it's even if this gets beat, which I think is likely that it does, it's about the signal, right? It's about what he's sending out, that he's continuing this. These people who are born here are not like us. They're different somehow, which is weird, right? Because his dad was the son of immigrants.
Yeah.
And so he's not like us. He's different. His name is Drumpf, and he's German or whatever.
I mean, the area, it's funny that he even wants to touch the 14th Amendment because he really should be looking at freaking Section 3 of this damn amendment. It's really what we should be talking about because that was clear as day. Everything, rebellion, shouldn't be there. but they were
But he
cowards.
wasn't charged with it. He
wasn't charged. Yeah,
he wasn't
they were
convicted.
cowards. A bunch of cowards.
Yeah, Colorado was ready to pull the trigger on that one, but it's.
This is also offensive in the sense that it's so offensive because number one, the reason that this country even begins to start shifting to being the ideal of democracy is the start of 13, 14, 15, 19 voting rights, Civil Rights Act, right? Though I think that I'm pretty sure I have the and the last amendment that we can't get across, right? The
equal rights.
And specifically, and I think Ketanji Brown Jackson did this elegantly, like these are laws specifically for Black people, like, and it helps everybody. That's the thing. And I think that's always been one of the big issues with like for our community has always been like, hey, you know what? Like when we want to do these things, we're not just trying to do it for us.
Right.
We want these things to help everybody. The 14th Amendment, again, and it's again back to your other point. I forgot. I think I was listening to 1A, and I forgot who they had on from England. He might have been someone from the Economist. It wasn't Dave Rennie, but he was just, again, they marvel at this whole concept of it because it's like, it is one of the craziest laws like really ever penned. And what it's been allowed to do in the other interpretations are, like, I don't agree with like corporations as people and like, but it is the actual law. I think it is probably the premier law, right? Like outside of like the Bill of like the initial Bill of Rights and like, but when it comes to amendments, right, like actual amendments that have been made to the Constitution, this is the one, and it's always frustrating that they use an amendment that's specifically created to try to right a insane wrong, and now it's being repurposed, right, in the sense, or not even being repurposed, but it's being challenged. It's almost being again challenged in a way that you couldn't even necessarily fathom it would be used this way. Like this is settled, right? It is in the Constitution. It's not like
it's not like statutory.
It's written down,
like sort of like court decided, like Roe or anything. It is specific and direct, and it's in plain words. This isn't like the second where there's some sort of ambiguity in the way it's written. It says all people born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside, period. That's the first sentence. And it's written just like that, with the same punctuation and all. So there isn't a lot of gray area here. And there's a reason that this has never been really, I mean, it was challenged, right? It was initially challenged and withstood, and everybody sort of figured out other ways to oppress Black people. But it to your point that, like, first of all, it's not as unique as Trump said. Nobody else has that. That's not true. There's 30 some odd countries that have birthright citizenship. And then there's even countries where they have like generational birthright citizenship, where like you might have never been to that country, but if your parents are from there, you can claim citizenship there. The United States has that too, right? You could be born in France to an American parent, and you are a naturalized American citizen, natural born American citizen. You're not naturalized. You are born an American citizen, and you can go claim your papers whenever you want, and you could run for president because you are a natural born United States citizen. And that can continue on for several generations. But I know people who are, whose parents or grandparents come from places that they've never even been, that they are able to claim citizenship in those countries. So it isn't that unique. But to your point that like this is when the country starts to actually become a democracy. Also to your point about like that the idea of America continues, and that this is the thing that is most foundational to the idea of America. this is what makes a melting pot melt.
This
Right?
is how you get new people, right? Like, and this is how people become, like, this is how people buy into the concept of, oh, like, I am an American. Like, you believe in the nation state. This is how it happens.
Yeah, it is so deeply this that it informs policy and it confuses Americans abroad or in understanding. Look, we have a bad reputation for being kind of like unaware of the rest of the world and being kind of uninformed or stupid about it. But like, part of that is because we have this thing that makes conflict in other places sometimes feel crazy. Like, I remember in the 90s trying to understand the conflict in the Balkans and like, what do you mean they're not all Bosnian?
No.
And then they're like, well, these ones are Bosnian Serbs, and these ones are Bosnian. And I'm like, but they're born in the same building, like in the same hospital. Aren't they the same people? And like, having teachers or people try to explain this to me, it was so, even now, even though I know better and I understand ethnic conflict better than I did as a teenager, it still just doesn't compute to me that you aren't of the place that you were born. You know, that you could be of some other place.
Right.
I don't, you know, we have this fight on this show, or not fight, but like this disagreement on this show all the time. I don't understand how that could be. You know what I mean?
That's a good thing.
It is a good thing. It is a good thing. You know,
the amendment works. The amendment works,
and it works. And other countries that have emerged from colonialism or dictatorship, specifically in the Western Hemisphere, have then incorporated this idea that the Americans pioneered in the 1860s into their constitution. So a lot of Central and South America has this same concept, written into their constitutions because they modeled it after what we had. And as countries emerge into democracy from places where they weren't, they are also adopting this idea. So it isn't.
And this is also something that's, I mean, obviously it's ratified by the states, and some of that is like, yeah, you kind of have to do that, especially the southern states. Like, we're really not letting this. You're not really allowed back.
There was federal troops.
Yeah, they're not allowed back, right? Yeah, when you're not even a state, you're like a district at this point, right? Like, it wouldn't federal districts that are down, but
until the Hayes election,
right? But you get them to ratify it. But even the writing of this is a collection of like some of like the great minds of the time, right? And obviously there was no black person inside the Congress to write this, but there was heavy influence and a lot of input to, like, the reason it's written the way it is because many drafts, and like this is something that's thought through. Like, it's not, and with any amendment, right? Because we don't do it a lot.
We don't do it a lot, and it's a laborious process to make it work. So it's got to be really, really good and very, very specific, because, you know, people will fuss over individual bits of language and things, and they won't let it, you know, the scrutiny on an amendment is higher than it is on anything else. So the fact that he wants to undo it, the fact that he isn't going to be able to undo it is kind of like, again, this doesn't matter because the bell has already been rung and it can't be unrung. What this signals is you are not of this place. And to his now pardoned brown shirts, or to the Proud Boys, or to the Klansmen who are out there wanting to be deputized, they will see this as their signal that this is okay to go after and intimidate or worse these groups of people. Again, also, I'm not totally sure how you can tell, right? Like, Trump had this interview with Hannity, and Hannity goes, how do you know somebody's a good guy or a bad guy coming into the country? And Trump goes, you can look at him and tell. And it's like, whoa, okay. Yeah, I bet you can. Yeah.
I bet you can tell.
I bet you can tell. So, and another thing I would really like to see is, you know, some white person from England sneak into this country and commit a mass murder or something like that, and see if, okay, here's an illegal immigrant, you know, and then watch and see how he handles that. Like, it's just, I don't actually want that to happen. I'm just saying,
No, but
the hypothetical here, the thought experiment. What does he mean by that? You know exactly what he means. The same thing, exactly what Elon was doing. This whole thing is that. So, hats off to you for trying there, Hoss, but it's still not going to stop him, right? So he's still going to set up the camps, and he's still going to use the military, and he's still going to do all these things. He's going to put the people in, and then he's going to get beaten in court, and then he's going to let them out, but they're going to have been damaged. Ask George Takei, ask any of the people who got through the internment camps, during the war, and they're going to say that, like, okay, sure, we were vindicated in the end, but those 6 years
still
or
went
whatever,
through.
it's still damages. So, okay. Do you want to take a break, or do you want to go right into a Tez talk?
Let's power through it.
Okay.
More sadness.
More sad stuff.
More sadness. And this sadness, we move over to the Justice Department.
Yeah, I picked this for you because you didn't write one, so I figured. But this is one of your 2 categories. It's not climate change. So if anybody's sad about the climate change,
Look at these dead ass birds.
There you go. It's not that one. It's the other thing that Tez is the expert on.
I think with climate right now, with fires burn, I don't know if I need to beat people over the head with that. You can you see, you kind of, maybe you don't see it. Maybe we should talk about that a little bit more, because I don't think
you can smell it.
You can smell it. Yeah, we had a whole summer here with it, but no, right? So the Justice Department has ordered its Civil Rights Division they're putting a pause on all ongoing litigation from the Biden administration, and they've been instructed not to pursue any new cases or settlements. And this was a memo that was sent to the temporary head of the division and the Washington Post, which I got my own feelings about them, but Washington Post reports. And I think what's key here is that with every change of administration, like between Republicans and Democrats, like things that, there are different priorities, right? Those parties always obviously have different priorities. I think what happened here, though, is something we haven't seen before. And this letter comes out from Kathleen Wolf. And basically, the quote, it says, do not file, quote, any new complaints, motions to intervene, agreed upon remands, amicus briefs, or statements of interest. So basically, in a sense, kneecapping anything that has to do with civil rights in the Justice Department, right? Any ongoing investigations, anything maybe they were about to button up, right? That's all done. I think one big thing that I think popped out to me is that this is going to affect anything that has to do with the Justice Department looking at like specific police departments, right?
Yeah,
like
that's a big part of this.
That's all. Like, yeah, we're not like there are all these like nice units that have the nice fun names that are stomping people out, and running basically racketeering rings. And the police, like, right, that's all done, right? The DOJ isn't doing this anymore. And I think it's quoted down here at the bottom of the article. It's beyond unusual. It's unprecedented. We've never seen this before at a scale with any transfer of power, regardless of the ideology of any incoming president or administration. And this comes from Damon Hewitt, as the president and executive director of the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights under law. This should make Americans both angry and deeply worried. This is more than just changing the course of philosophy. This is exactly what most people in the civil rights community feared. A Justice Department that was created to protect civil rights, literally abdicating its duty and responsibility to protect Americans from all forms of discrimination. So I think, that last piece, right? All forms of discrimination, people should be like, let's say, I think when we talk a lot about like the ADA, right, compliance and stuff like that, right? Let's just say like someone is like, you're not ableist in a sense, right? Someone is discriminating, right? Like that's out the window too. Like I think sometimes all this can get caught up is like, oh, these are things that are trying to help Black people only. Like, no, there are other people who are going to kind of get swept up because civil rights, I think, is broader than.
Suppose you're a reservist who got fired from his job because he needs to go do his duty 2 weeks 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks out of the year or whatever. Right?
That's your civil right. Yeah, it's a civil right violation.
That's protected by the civil rights laws. And then well, who are you gonna call? Ghostbusters ain't gonna help you there. It's as you mentioned, right, is every time there's a change between Republicans and Democrats, the Civil Rights Division at the Justice Department is always one of the biggest flips, because when Republicans are in charge, the Civil Rights Division prosecutes what it calls voter fraud, even though it doesn't actually find any. And then when Democrats are in charge, it does civil rights. And but usually these things are sort of wound down on a case-by-case basis. And some things even Republicans have to agree with when it's like, blatant and obvious. There were several consent decrees under the Bush administration that were, necessary and important because police were being, blatantly racist in insert city here. So it is in keeping with the next couple things that we were going to talk about, which is, like the freeze and the health stuff and the movements to the border. It's shock and awe in a way. And I think it's designed to disrupt the resistance in a way. If too many things happen at once, we don't know which thing to deal with, how many breaking news alerts we can handle. I think that, amongst groups of people who are trying to think their way through this, of which my friend group exists and yours, I'm sure, I think it's wise to kind of divide up what everybody pays attention to, almost like beats for a reporter. So like the last time this happened, my job was to pay attention to healthcare and immigration. Those were the two things that I was sort of most well versed, and therefore the assignment. Other people were watching things like civil rights issues here, police brutality, all of that kind of stuff. And then it's like, all right, let's get together and get our notes, because it's too much to watch all at once.
The economy soon will be that.
Yeah, so I think amongst us, obviously, you're the econ guy, so your job is to watch the economy.
Tariff watch. We're on tariff watch. It's coming soon.
And I'll keep an eye on healthcare and immigration, which are apparently the two things that I'm really good at. We need somebody to watch civil rights. Can't be Brian, because he doesn't like civil rights. So but you get what I'm saying. Like we have to almost organize ourselves like a newsroom just to manage this. Which is the point, which is what they're trying to do here.
What more needs to be said? I mean,
we need to stop using this word unprecedented. It's
over with here.
It's losing its value. All right, this one's called "He Did What Now," which sounds a lot like "What the fuck did he do this week?" Because really, that's just going to be the show for the rest of forever. Trump says he's going to send 10,000 troops to the southern border.
Only 10,000.
Only 10,000. I don't know where he's going to find them. They're all kind of busy, but. They're having trouble with recruiting goals. Maybe this is going to help them. Come to join the army and go to sunny Mexico.
From behind bars for January 6th to straight to the southern border.
Yeah, remember, he thinks that they're cleaning out their jails and mental asylums to throw immigrants at us. What better place to find recruits, right?
Yeah.
So, he says he's gonna send the army down there and do this. There's already now Biden sent some service members down to the border. They've already been there. Trump said, or the Defense Department said, at least 1,500 active duty ground troops are going to the southern border to be the first of several waves. The forces will bolster the 2,500 that are already there. It's important to pay attention, though, to like what they can and can't do legally. There's a posse comitatus rule, which says that you can't deploy the army within the borders of the United States for the purposes of law enforcement or various other things. The only time that the extraordinary sort of circumstances of that have ever been used was when HW had to deploy the army to try to quell the riots in LA after Rodney King. I have thoughts about that.
Yeah.
But LA's going through enough right now, so we don't really need to revisit that. But like, they can't use the military to like enforce laws. So they can't be the border patrol. They can't stand there and even like do things like alert the border patrol to where people are. But what they can do is like logistics, construction. So they can build the wall. They can, fly border patrol around in their airplanes. They can move material and people around at the, as a detail to the border patrol. All this is going to take a lot of money, though. And this is the thing that, like, we had a border bill that was going through Congress that would have funded a massive increase in detention centers.
Most conservative bill I've ever seen. Immigration advocates hated this bill.
Hated this thing. It would have hired 10,000 more Border Patrol or 19,000 Border Patrol agents. Or no, it would have added to the already. I'm sorry. There are 19,000. It would have added like 5,000 to that. It would have built all of these detention facilities to house all of these people. It would have bought a bunch of wall. It would have bought a bunch more barriers and all kinds of other good fentanyl detection capabilities, both at ports of entry and deployed across the border between the ports of entry. It would have done all of that. But of course, Trump nixed it. Now he's literally asking for the things that bill would have done. And he's gonna get it. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And again, I don't actually have a problem with like fentanyl detection stuff. That's probably a good idea. We should have that. But just be prepared for how many American citizens are the ones who are running all the fentanyl in and out of the country. So he designated the cartels terrorist organizations. That doesn't seem to matter very much in terms of like, can he apply more sanctions to them? No, they're already sanctioned completely.
Sanctions? This man could strike them.
Well, so that's the thing is everybody's worried about. It's like he's going to use this as a justification for a drone strike in a sovereign country. Probably,
yeah.
Probably. He told Putin that he better end the war. Or he's going to sanction him and stop buying anything from Russia. I don't know if he knows that America doesn't buy anything from Russia. So that's sort
it's
of
only him.
Yeah, he's the only one that has anything to do with Russia financially. So that's stupid weak sauce. I guess he said that because he knows that it doesn't mean anything to Putin, and it was the only things he could say around Putin's dick in his mouth. So what was his title? Cockholster. Putin's cockholster is yeah.
Hell of a freaking title.
Yeah, Donald Trump, Putin's cockholster. He ended refugees, including all the Afghans who helped our soldiers during the war.
Killed the app.
He killed the CBP-1 app so that now the asylum seekers who are, had their appointments don't get in. He ended asylum in general. Some of these things are like treaty bound, so there'll be court fights here and there. But again, it's all going to be like, all right, send ACLU, send your army down to move my army out of the way to let these asylum seekers. We're just going to not do it. The court order is going to say you got to do it. And he's going to be like, yeah, make me let them in.
And that's when good things get interesting.
Yeah. And then the other, sort of part of this shock and awe, which isn't border related, but it's health related, is that the Trump administration has put a freeze on many federal health agency communications to the public through at least the end of the month. In a memo obtained by the AP, Acting Secretary of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Dorothy Fink, told agency staff leaders Tuesday that, quote, an immediate pause had been ordered on, among all things, regulations, guidance, announcements, press releases, social media posts, website posts, until such communications have been approved by a political appointee. So if there is a health emergency, nobody can talk about it. State agencies can, but the feds can't.
What you need, as we see, the federal response is what's necessary to bolster what the state's response is. And that's how this whole thing is supposed to work, specifically when there are these bigger things that affect the nation as a whole, which many of the health issues do. That's when the federal government steps in.
There's other aspects to this too that, some of these edicts regarding health and human services and some of these things have already paused or ceased cancer research.
That's what I'm saying. Why are we doing this again? To research, there's a lot of issues, obviously, with the health care system in this country. But research is something that I think we kind of do pretty well, right? I would say
it is. And think about all the people who are in these trials who are hoping that the thing that they're trialing is going to save their lives, and now it stops. So is Trump complicit in the deaths of however many people die because they stopped getting the experimental treatments that they need, that might be working?
No, he's not, because it's an official act.
Well, no, I'm saying he might.
Oh, but yeah,
he's immune from it. He's still complicit.
Yes,
he is not legally in jeopardy, but he's complicit in all of that. And and another thing that I was listening to something about this earlier, that all of the stuff in health science is long term usually, right? These things are years and years long. They're planned out well in advance. Trials are longitudinal. They take years and years. So stopping these things dead in their tracks, or even stopping the communication between the groups who are working on this, does massive damage to the outcomes of these things. It corrupts the data. It costs lives, and it frankly loses our edge as the premier developer of treatments and healthcare in the world.
And guess what happens when we develop this stuff? We sell it.
Yeah, we make money. He made money on the goddamn vaccine.
Yeah.
And also, who steps in when we don't, right? Like, if we're not the world leader he pulled us out of the WHO. If we're not the ones leading the WHO, if we're not the ones providing the money and therefore telling them what to do, which is pretty much how that works, guess who is? And it starts with the China and it ends with the China. So it's
they're eating our lunch.
Yeah, and he's making it easy. He's spreading mustard on it. Like, I don't know how. I'm not saying he hasn't thought this stuff through. I think to the extent that any of the people, and again, he doesn't do the thinking, right? He just signs the stuff, and Stephen Miller and them write the stuff. The Project 2025 does the thinking. But the people who are thinking this through are thinking very short term. They're thinking about their own way to get their wealth and get out. And then they're thinking about how many people they can harm on the way. And they're enjoying it. They're enjoying the harm.
That's evident. It's not like, because there is a plan, but the plan itself is more like, what can we do to create as much harm as possible, and then how can I use the federal government to profit off of?
Yeah, how can I profit off of the harm?
It's completely what you just said there. That's the equation that they have right now.
As they say, the cruelty is the point.
Yeah.
So to wit, Trump decided that he owed the libertarians a favor for voting for him. There aren't any libertarians, and whatever. So he pardoned a guy who ran a black market full of drugs and child sex slaves. Ross Ulbricht was in prison for running the dark web website Silk Road, which people might remember. It was infamous. He was convicted in 2015 on narcotics and money laundering conspiracies. I mean, this thing was, when this trial was going on, a lot of us regular people, Tez, I'm sure, already knew a lot about the dark web because he's a computer genius, but a lot of us regular people were shocked to know that this even kind of existed. We sort of assumed that this did, but we didn't know how it worked. Silk Road was described as like eBay or Craigslist for drugs and
anything illicit.
Anything you wanted, anything illicit, weapons, child pornography, human trafficking, all kinds of stuff. And the guy who ran it, Mr. Ulbricht, he basically tried to make the Craigslist case, right? He said, look, it's just a marketplace.
Yeah.
And people are selling things. They're the ones who are doing the criminal stuff. I'm not doing it. I'm not, I'm just here I'm just a website. And, the Justice Department was like, nah, dude, you're involved in this. You're facilitating it. Yeah. And then they found out also that he was like, not just,
he was dealing.
Yeah. He wasn't just running the website. He was also buying and selling stuff through there. So then it was a very open and shut case. And so there's not even like a libertarian argument that somehow, okay, well, look, you should have a free market, and if people want to do illegal shit on it, it's not your responsibility. This guy was doing the illegal shit on his own illegal market. So, there's no like pure argument here, pure libertarian argument to be made. This guy is just a drug dealer and human trafficker. And Trump pardoned him, unconditional. And, he sold more than $200 million worth of drugs anonymously. So that's cool.
The Times had it in there, I think, when this lady, what's her name? I think it's this is chair of the Libertarian Party, Angela McArdle. I think it's McArdle, excuse me. And she goes down there and she's like, Trump is asked to meet with her and they connect. She's like, I can help you win the Libertarian vote. And like she's talking, and the first thing he says to her is like, when she mentions pardoning Ulbricht, he's like, I love freeing people.
Yeah.
It's,
Right.
It's like, what?
He's
Like,
not serious about it. That's
not.
the thing.
He's serious about the actions, but he's not. He's a very unserious person. Like,
yeah. So this all of this kind of all these pardons and all of this stuff, whether it's Ulbricht or whether it's the J6 guys, it all kind of has this Willie Horton thing to it, where I'm like, okay, how long until one of the people that he has pardoned commits something heinous? And it's that Willie Horton moment, right? That did Dukakis in, that the guy that he let out on compassionate grounds or whatever, then committed some sort of heinous crime. What happens if Ulbricht goes back to selling children, or what if one of these J6ers beats up a cop again?
That's I think less to the Ulbricht one, because I think that ends up happening. And imagine the environment that he comes into now versus
it's totally
insane. But I think it's more that I think that Jan 6 example is where I would look at it. It's like, oh, someone released and then goes into a community where there are Trump voters and does something that causes, like, do people stand for that? I don't. Or maybe they still say my egg prices are too high.
Or maybe they blame it on the goddamn Mexicans. And
true. Everybody always is quick to look for a scapegoat.
They say that that the January 6th guy didn't really do it, that the FBI set him up, and it was really some Puerto Rican dude that did it.
Exactly.
And then, who knows? I guarantee it happens. The question is only about, like, what is the fallout when it does happen. So, okay, that's the sad stuff. Now we've got the fun part of the show.
Hey, we finally made it.
Finally made it. It's time for sports.
Oh, look at that coming back.
Yes,
touchdown takes.
Touchdown takes. Now look, before we get to the football, we're a few weeks now.
It's almost here.
Away from my dad told me, he's like, yeah, he's counting the days to his 4 favorite words, which is pitchers and catchers report. So that means baseball is coming back, which is hopefully going to distract us for a little while, or give us something to be happy about. But that means also we just got the Hall of Fame announcements. So several people made the Hall of Fame, but the one that we want to talk about, that I want to talk about, is that Ichiro made the Hall of Fame.
Well deserved.
That is not the story, right? Just so that's not the story. Just so people understand that Ichiro was 46 years old when he retired. He played professional baseball basically for 30 years. He was like he was 17 or something when he came up in the Japanese major leagues. He got his batting average got to 300 at his 10th at bat for the Seattle Mariners, and then never slipped below it again for 10,000 and some odd more at bats. He was the first Japanese position player in the major leagues, and he had this incredible career of just, record upon record, 10-time All-Star, all of the things that are the thing, and while also being an absolute class act, well known for being kind of a funny guy. He was a bit of an Iron Man. As I said, he played till he was 46 years old. He revolutionized the way that everybody hit, with that sort of drag single, that he was sort of famous for. He played for several teams. He was successful on all of them. The story here is he wasn't a unanimous.
That's the story.
And he missed it by one. Now, if you look at the list of people, there's only been one unanimous ever inducted into the Hall of Fame. Who is that, Brian? Don't look it up. You have to.
I'm not looking at. I'm trying to remember because it was recent.
It was recent. He was also the last to wear number 42, just to give you some sort of context.
Oh, it couldn't be Ortiz.
No. Contemporary of, though.
Yeah. Damn.
Mariano?
Yes,
Yeah,
Mariano.
Mariano.
That's
That was it.
I was like, because you had me. I was like,
Someone I
who was that?
hated. Someone I hated. And it was
Oh
like,
yeah, but no, but I mean,
Well, we
because I'm
hated
like,
him for being a Yankee, but
Yankee,
there's no
yes.
denying that Rivera was
Yeah.
the absolute best. So,
which is surprising, but yeah, I mean, because I remember that list and seeing Cal was like
yeah, he
Cal
missed it by
Ripken for those
7
who
or
don't know.
something like that.
Yeah, and I was like, dude, he's
Who are
the
those-
Iron Man. I
Yeah.
mean, it's like I don't get you. Why was he not unanimous? But because mind you, it's baseball writers who do the voting, and they have this anal whatever reasonings for why certain people are in or out, and especially those who've been on the ballot, so to speak, for multiple years. And it's like recently they finally got Dave Parker in, but he went through like the veteran route.
Yeah,
right.
And I felt like oh, this dude should have been like a long time ago. And now it's you're getting to that era now where certain guys who should be in already, like I saw on the list who didn't make it again was Omar Vasquez. And I figured I thought everyone, mind you, during his career, everyone's oh, he's a potential Hall of Famer. And in the end, it's like, damn, this is like what his 8th time on this ballot and still isn't in. And it's like, come on. And like I think it took Omar Garcia Parra. I don't think he's in either. And
so there's some of this stuff that like, and the steroid era obviously is going to be a problem, and it's going to make this cloudy. But Ichiro is, I think the only way to explain this is that there is at least one person who believes nobody should be a unanimous, which that does not make any sense to me. And Ichiro is not controversial by any stretch of the imagination. There's nothing that he did that could ever be construed as anything other than great for baseball.
First Japanese Hall of
position
Famer.
player. It just
not just in the Hall of Fame, because I saw the list and it's like to see Ichiro get in there. I mean, mind you, he was when they brought him over, and it was a massive big deal when he first came along. Mind you, bigger than Hideo Nomo. That was the thing.
Oh yeah,
and just to see how he took over Seattle, he embraced Seattle, and I felt like he should have been a lifer there, but mind you, modern day baseball, he had to be bounced around and stuff. So, but yeah, in this day and age, to have, I mean, these baseball writers, and most of them are still like doing it for like 40, 50 years, and still have these, like I said, these weird reasonings that they don't explain because none of these ballots are public.
Yeah.
I mean, meaning the voting, it's like you got to explain yourself why you didn't put them in here.
You
like
give nerds power, and this is what happens here.
Yeah, my brother, I asked him about, and my brother was like, they need to publish the name of this person who said no, because like he needs to explain himself. There is just absolutely nothing that makes sense to me about why Ichiro should not be a unanimous. That seems like and that he missed it by 1. It means there's one asshole out here who is like, no, fuck Ichiro. Like, why? The
one thing that's funny always about Ichiro that people report, because obviously he's known for hitting the ball in play. But if you've ever, like, people who've watched his batting practice, they're saying if he really ever wanted to like focus in on hitting home runs, it would have been nonstop. Like, that just wasn't his game. But anybody you talk to, like all coaches, that you always hear them say, you didn't realize what he was capable of. Actually,
he could crank the ball when he wanted to.
Yeah,
but
he wanted to. Yeah,
but he realized though, like me getting on, like that was the brand of baseball, which I kind of agree with. I think it makes sense. I think
he was able to be more effective as a small ball player because he was a base runner. He could get on and he could steal his way around, and then he's a threat and he can score more runs than he could just slapping the ball and taking himself in, because he could get on and then keep people, get it, runners on the corners, keep things from being double plays, all that other stuff. Also, keep in mind, not only was he an incredible hitter, but Ichiro was an incredible fielder and had an absolute cannon for an arm. He routinely threw people out from right field. Routinely. It wasn't like it happened once in a while. It happened all the time. You were an idiot if you tried to run on Ichiro from second. You were only in scoring position with Ichiro out in the outfield when you were on third and halfway down the baseline. because he was gonna gun you down.
Yeah, and if people think about like what they might see like a Juan Soto do now, right? It's like Ichiro was doing that way before.
And he's half the size of Soto.
Size of Soto, exactly.
So just these people, whoever this guy is, fuck him and everybody who looks like him. I hope he never gets a free beer in his entire life for the rest of forever. And he should have to surrender his pen. He obviously doesn't know shit about baseball, and he shouldn't get to write about it anymore. Okay, now let's talk about football. Tez's touchdown takes. Okay, so there's two things obviously that we need to go over. My team, the Washington football team, the Commanders. Tez is, I guess, back on the bandwagon team.
Go Commies. Nice red.
The nice red. It's burgundy. Nice burgundy.
I
Commies.
think the joke of the Commies in Washington is hot. It's just hilarious.
It's very funny. But Jaden Daniels wearing Tressway's number 5 continues to do amazing things. But that was a team win against Detroit on the road.
All three phases of the game won. All three.
It was dynamite. Former Michigan great Mikey St. Still had 2 interceptions, which equaled the 2 that he had for the entire year. So he had 4 in his rookie year, 2 of which in a playoff game critically could still get more. They just played lights out. I mean, everything about it was lights out. There was basically one way to win this game in Detroit, and Dan Quinn knew it. I knew it. We all knew it, which was, you had to get after Goff. He was the only weak link. The Detroit offense has so many weapons. Gibbs is obviously a huge problem. Williams is a huge problem. Laporta is a huge problem, and St. Brown's a huge problem. So what's the common thing is you got to go after Goff. They went after Goff. They got to him. They were able to get him to make stupid mistakes, and then they were able to capitalize on those. Jaden Daniels ran an incredible offense the entire time. Guy's unflappable.
I've never seen anything, a rookie go on the road anywhere to do
I haven't even seen a lot of veterans be able to do that on the road in such a hostile environment against
I've seen a rookie do that before.
Yeah, was it Joey Flacco in 2009? Yes. Right. No, that's true. Sorry, 2008. So I looked this up. The last time that a rookie quarterback took a team to the conference championship, do you know when that was and who it was? I had to look it up because it had slipped my mind, and I'll tell you why. It's because it was Mr. Irrelevant, Brock Purdy in 22.
Oh, God.
But before Purdy did it, the most recent rookie to take a team to a conference championship, do you know who it was?
It was Flacco.
No, Flacco was in 2008. The year after that, it was somebody else. Former Redskins great, I should point out.
Let's see, 40.
Former USC great.
Let's see.
Who?
He did it 2 years in a row, I should point out. He did it in 09 and 10, but in 10, of course, he was in the second year. He wasn't a rookie.
Can't be Eli.
Well, it wasn't Eli, but same city.
Oh my God, Sanchez.
Yes,
Sanchez. Yeah.
Oh my God, the Sanchez.
Yeah.
But even him and Flacco. But I think I'm not saying Washington's defense is good, but those defenses I feel like were insane though. Both of them.
Let's say this with the Ravens defense at the time.
that's like the
it was like, and it's you got Ray and Suggs and Ed Reed. They were they really gelled very well, especially those 5 years until they finally capped it. The Jets defense though, they were decent, but I think there was a weak link, and a lot of people, I think at the time the Jets were pretty much kind of like in a sense kind of like the Commanders now. They were kind of like a big surprise because no one ever really anticipated the Jets to do this run, and especially during a time frame where the Patriots were dominant.
Right.
So everyone again at that time frame figured it's like, everyone's saying, yeah, the turning of the tide, the Jets are finally going to be doing it, and blah blah blah, and then everything fell apart, by the conference final. So.
Well, but anyway, I don't want to really hammer on the failures of the Jets because that could take forever. But I just want to like highlight that, you know, Daniels is doing something really extraordinary in this, and he looks really extraordinary doing it. The team is healthy at the right time. The you know, we sort of came off all of the trouble. I think B-Rob was not at his best in the Tampa Bay game, but by the time to Detroit, he was all the way healed. He was hitting the line harder, which I think really was critical. The throws that Daniels was making, that throw that he made to Brown in double coverage, it was like right there and nobody else could get it. It was incredible. De'Ami Brown is looking better and better because there's always the double team on McLaurin. McLaurin continues to be an incredible leader on this team. Eckler is really, I think, also fully recovered from his concussions and stuff like that. So everybody's kind of healthy at the right time. They're playing with joy. We talk about that on the show all the time, that the teams that play with joy.
Happy, joy.
They really look like they're having a good time. You know, Dan Quinn really looks like he's having a good time there on the sidelines. Kingsbury, who I'm sure is going to get plucked to be a head coach by this time next year, or by June. You know,
fool people again.
It's just right, yeah.
He's gonna fool them again.
Going back to Phoenix.
Oh God, hey,
obviously Tyler.
Good luck, you know. Good luck. Okay.
But look at the difference between when you have a Kyler Murray and a Jaden Daniels. It's really very different sort of quarterbacks. It's just it's really fun to watch. It's fun to feel. It's fun to see the way that the city is reacting to it. So that's really good. Brian, we want to make some space for you to do venting / crying about the fact that Buffalo kept you out of your conference final. Though Lamar didn't have a great game. I feel like that was
no.
It wasn't bad.
It wasn't bad, but I second what he said during his press conference. He knew he made mistakes, especially the turnovers.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that where last year when the Ravens lost and you had Odell Beckham Jr. consoling him and going over to talk to Zach Flowers and talking to him as well, and I say, hey, keep your head up, do that. That's what I was glad to see him do it for Mark Andrews, because Mark Andrews, with that third fumble, or the third turnover, and him going over there and consoling him and let him know, hey, they were still in it. They were still in it. It's just the thing is like things need to happen. And when he got that touchdown, they were only down by 2, and unfortunately the 2-point conversion didn't convert. And it seemed like if he caught it I don't think if he caught it, I don't think he would have been in anyway. So
I think he was in where it hit him. But
yeah.
I saw several people be critical of them, of the play that they ran for the 2-point, and I'm like, why? It worked. The problem is
it worked. Yeah, I mean, it
just didn't catch it, but like he was open, and the bootleg works. That you can never defend against that, because if you cheat up on Jackson, he's gonna throw it, and if you drop in coverage, he's gonna run it in. There's nothing you can do to stop this. They had been successful running it so many times before. There's no reason to think that it wouldn't work. John Harbaugh was gutsy in a lot of his calls, but yeah, I mean, it really came down to turnovers and execution. And I think that, I don't know what happened that Lamar just couldn't get out of his own way, I think, in this game. Really.
Well, I don't think it was in his own way. It's like when he threw, actually the real key thing, the key play that really changed that was the first fumble.
Yeah.
And him, he meant the fact that like he just should have ate it. He just like, hey, just gobble up, take the sacks and call it a day. I know mentally he figures like I'm still able to do something, but the way his body was, and it's like just take the sack and call it a day. But again,
I think the weather also played a factor in that too, because it's really cold in Buffalo and it's really difficult to deal with, and so.
But keep this. Here's what a lot of people will always forget this fact. Keep this in mind. The Bills only scored 6 points in the second half.
Right. Yeah, which is
everyone is just like that's why I felt like with this game, it was a winnable game. The Bills just had that bigger lead, and again, those early mistakes hurt the team. And honestly, it's like I'm mind you. Here's the one thing I really hate. I really hate these whatever these fans coming out of the woodworks who are always upset when when the Ravens lose. I understand I was upset and disappointed, but I'm not going to go on Twitter and give him death threats to a guy who been playing his heart out, especially for this team for the last 6-7 years.
Yeah, going after Andrews is just completely uncalled for. That's bullshit.
Yeah, I do not understand
Have you ever?
that.
You know, fans are crazy. Right?
I know
fans
they're crazy.
idiots.
No, these are the same
Fanatic.
fans. But these are the same Raven fans who've been wanting John Harbaugh fired, who felt like Lamar should be traded, Mark Andrews should be traded, this guy should be whatever, making ridiculous GM decisions that's like, dude, just do that on Madden and call it a day. But when you start doing the death threats, I felt like you are insane. You are too insane. And it's like, I mean, I highly commend the Buffalo Bills organization for donating to his organization, Mark Andrews' organization. I feel like, look, Mark, just come back and do what you always been doing. You're an all-pro in my book, and we'll get there. I mean, mind you, there's a long list of Hall of Fame guys, and especially in the NFL, like most notably, it stands out as Peyton Manning. It took him for almost a decade to finally get into the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's just like I feel like they're right there. There is that window. That window is wide open.
Well, you're talking about an AFC which has a very high concentration of talent. You know, between you've got Baltimore, which is a perennial contender. You've got Buffalo. You've got Kansas City.
And
the
referees. Don't forget the referees.
And the referees. So that's the next thing. But Texas is in there too because we're looking at the.
No, Houston has always.
But it's the same 4 teams in that divisional round that we saw last year.
But let's be clear about this. The AFC South is the weakest division.
Oh, sure, but they had to get through a wild card team to get there. And I'm saying that like there is a lot of talent in the AFC right now. Yeah. You don't forget about Denver. They're going to become a serious factor.
Peyton Manning only had to fight Brady.
Yeah,
that's all he was going after.
Yeah,
it was the only person.
But he had to get through his conference too, and he wasn't able to do it with the Colts. And that was part of the problem is that they really weren't there. Even with Dungy and all of that stuff, and then eventually they got there. But it was a build up to it. They needed to get the right pieces, and they needed a little luck. And the Ravens had a lot of luck on their side this year, and their injuries didn't kill them and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. I think Lamar played his heart out. It was a good game, but it was his mistakes that ultimately ended up being the thing that sunk him. He owned that. I think he demonstrated that he's a class act all the way.
Yeah. Not a lot of players own up to their own mistakes, and Lamar has been owning up since day one, and that's why.
Let's talk about the best players in the NFL. That's the referees in the Kansas City game. So, I'm not somebody who thinks that the league is trying to make Kansas City win and like telling the refs to call games in way or make calls in ways that are going to affect the outcome. However, the narrative amongst the NFL fans is that the refs play for the Chiefs, right? There's so many jokes about this. And then they go and do things like blow these calls and make phantom calls. And it's like, you guys aren't helping this perception. So Brian, as the AFC guy in the room here, do the refs play for the Chiefs?
Yes.
Do you think
it's for the entire? I've said this since day one, the first game of the year. It's like it is so blatant. I don't know who does the rotation. Probably there. I know they have a rotation, and I saw on a post where it's like the guy who did the divisional game. He did 7 of them, and the Chiefs won all of them. And these weird calls that just you look at it and you're kind of like, what the hell is going on here? And I'm happy and glad that Troy Aikman said it on national television, saying, "What the hell is this? This is not right." And him stating that proves the fact that there has been something going on wrong when there comes to Chiefs games. It just does not make sense.
I think they're being told to do this by the NFL, or they're just doing it of their own volition.
You're looking at
Troy Aikman saying it proves
the key thing is history.
Yeah.
Because the last team that tried to do a three-peat was the 49ers. And the only way the Niners didn't get to that third one was facing the Giants, who pretty much, if anyone sees a video of how Joe Montana got sacked it pretty much almost ended his career. That ended the three-peat and pretty much dismantled that Niners team for a good while.
Well, it got Montana basically out of there, and Young took over from there. But yeah,
but here it's
doesn't the NFL want parity though?
No, they don't, because when it comes to Roger Goodell, everything is a PR game now. And
yeah,
here
but why does the Chiefs winning help his PR?
Yes,
it seems like the whole country's against them right now.
Yeah, but the thing is, he's like, hey, we're making history here. We have a history making team.
Dynasties are good for sports.
And I'm like, no.
Dynasties are good for sports. If it was the damn Ravens winning 3 in a row, you wouldn't be saying anything.
So do you, Brian?
Need the damn referees to cheat?
I'm just saying.
Never use the referee. That would be like the comedy saying, "Oh, we never use the referees," when we clearly smashed Golf, knocked him into oblivion.
Okay, but he was a tackler at that point, so that was a legal hit.
Yeah.
And then they called a face mask on us when it was the shoulder pad. So that was bullshit too. That was
referees
even.
That's the funny thing, because speaking of that call, it's like, there was like weeks prior to that, there was the same thing, and someone blocked out Mahomes, and next thing a flag is thrown. Golf, it is like it's the same thing, but you don't call it. And Mahomes is getting these like Michael Jordan type of calls.
Well, and he's Michael Jordan. That's why.
But look, let's not kid ourselves and say that the Chiefs aren't a talented team full of incredible players, regardless of the referees.
I'm saying I'm going to be 100% clear. If you take away all the help the refs gave, I really think this is the most weakest Chiefs team in the AFC Championship they've ever had.
It is the most, but if they do it one more time, at least and this is the one team that I've getting back into football, I've watched from what I have seen from the Chiefs that brought me back to football to this one, is that take the refs out of this piece. They find ways to win.
No.
Patty Mahomes find ways to win.
The defense is strong.
No, it's not. That team, this
not giving up 45 points a game.
Kelsey always open. People who don't know anything about football know number 87 because he's like going out with Taylor Swift. Somehow the defenses don't know where he is.
They don't know
entire rest of
this guy.
You got to cover him.
Okay,
he doesn't even run a route. They just go like, "Hey man, get open," and he's somehow fucking open.
Okay, let me fully clear this up. This is the most weakest team the Chiefs have ever put out there.
What's the record?
Travis Kelce, this is one of his worst seasons he's ever had, based off of numbers.
They're winning.
They're winning with help. Take away the referees' help, they are not that good. Most of the games they've won, if you look at it, most of the games they've won, they were not able to do what they would have done.
Okay.
Let's fully clear about that.
Let's just, before we end this on the NFL segment, I wanted to be clear. Brian, you think that Goodell and the league tells the refs to cheat on behalf of the Chiefs?
I am pretty much, like to say, 80% sure.
And the other 20% is that the refs are doing it of their own volition because they like the Chiefs?
No, 20% of the field they tried to be up and up. And
they're just making mistakes.
But they're making mistakes. But 80%, I really think there's something really going wrong here. And I think Goodell don't give a shit.
So here's my follow-up question. If we made things like face masks and other things like reviewable after the fact, which they're not currently, right. If we expanded what's reviewable, do you think that would solve this problem and restore more confidence for the people who watch and think that the refs are cheating on behalf of the Chiefs?
100%.
There you go. I'm in favor of that. I think they need to expand that.
There are a lot of calls that they
for the gambling. For God's sake.
That's the thing. Right. Brian thinks it's about pride. It's obviously about money.
Money, man.
Right. You think so, Tez? You think the bookies are paying the refs?
If they're doing it for anything. If I'm going to go down this road for you, they're doing it for
Vegas is paying the refs.
We're going to go down that road. Or
how can Vegas make money on that?
Maybe a team that makes it to back-to-back Super Bowls maybe it's figured out. What do they talk about? The winning mentality, right? The winning
Maybe
mentality.
Andy Reid is the truth. Maybe Patrick Mahomes is the truth. Maybe that defense is the truth. I mean, they have so many things working for them.
Dynasties are good for the sport.
Yeah.
Dynasties are good for the
No,
sport.
it's not.
Well, don't worry. The other Native American team is about to win.
Exactly.
We're coming for them.
Yeah.
Okay. They need to get rid of that drum and that chop, by the way. If they made us lose the name, they got to get rid of that shit. That is bullshit.
They're not taking
They're
that
not getting
one.
rid of that one.
Okay, well then give us our name back. God damn it.
They're not coming back either. And it should never be. It's dead. And when the name is gone, look what you got.
No, I know. No.
You don't want the name back.
Winning solves everything. And now that we're winning, I'm willing to accept Commanders as a legitimate name. That's absolutely the case. I'm
Bring back the football club. That's what they need to bring.
I like football team. I'm still watching football team. I like that. But okay. Let's wrap this up. It is cold. We all know that it's cold, and we talk for a living, right?
Yes.
So what we need is cough drops. But we got a new one out now. We all know like the honey lemon is good. People like the menthol, the mint stuff is all pretty good. We got a new game in town. The good folks over at Progresso Soup. It's also good for your sore throat in the wintertime. We got a new joint out. What do we make of this one?
Oh, this is the soup lozenge.
Yes.
Ugh.
I'm wondering about how it tastes. That's all I got.
The tagline is "It's soup you can suck on." It's an interesting choice there. I did go try to buy some, and if you look at the script, you'll see what I was met with when I got to the website. It says, "We're super sorry, but don't stew." And then it says to come back Thursday at 9 a.m. Eastern. This was, of course, that would have been today. Again, I struck out. So they're not very expensive. I'm still going to try. I'm going to keep trying to get my hands on some of these so we can try them. They're supposed to taste like canned soup. What the
This is definitely the watchful dial.
It doesn't say what kind of soup they're supposed to taste like though. Like chicken noodle,
chicken noodle, right? From what I've seen on.
But like, how do you do the noodle in a lozenge?
I mean, it's probably just the broth itself. I don't think you'll have the taste of the noodle. So, but I mean, it's possible. I mean, you make gelatin. Yeah, out of soup broth or bone broth.
The bone broth.
Well, don't think about that. The bone broth drops.
Yeah, we can get caveman lozenges for Tez. If only we'd have won our auction to buy InfoWars, we could have been making Tez the spokesman for the bone broth.
The way everything drops, the way everything panned out, they'd just be snatching it back. Or would that make us? We'd be absorbed into the administration if we.
Yeah, we would be Secretary of Misinformation. It'd be great. We'd be good at that.
Great at that,
Yeah. All right, Wattle Da. So that's the show.
The first of many sad ones.
Yeah. Well, informative, I believe, is the word you mean.
No. Yes. Sorry. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Forgot. Not talking about amongst friends. Talking amongst everybody.
All right, so now we've come to the end of the show. We want to say thank you to Progresso Soup, of course, cousin Enrique, that asshole who didn't vote for Ichiro, all of those guys. Thanks to our radio partners, VOA, NEA, and Sesame Workshop, and WASP Mexico, all things that won't exist next week. Thanks to NOTN for keeping us on for another week, we assume, although we haven't checked. And thanks to our home on the interwebs, coplaymedia.com. And thanks, as always, to our family here at Beltway Radio for making us sound as smooth as Stuart Rhodes' eye patch. Okay, where can everybody get you on the socials, Tez?
You can find me at DC Cortez on Blue Sky.
That's it. All right. Brian, where can everybody find you?
I'm also on Blue Sky. BTB 417, I believe. I don't know, I can't remember. But it's still new to me. And be on the lookout for, of course, No Filter Sports. We'll probably go more deep into this pro football, and of course, Beltway access to Exotica is in working motion, in production or post production. So we'll put that out there very soon, since the AVN is this weekend. So, and Exotica was celebrating 20 years now coming soon. So, yeah.
That's a lot of baby oil. All right. And you can find me on the Twitter. Find me and the show on the Twitter at ChipChatRR. I'm still there lurking and paying attention. Somebody's got to keep an eye on those crazies. You can find
Nazis.
That's right. That's the proper word. You can find the show on Facebook or Instagram at Rip Chip Chat. And you can find me on Blue Sky with my old Twitter handle, Chef Chip. And we're doing pretty well over there. We're getting a lot of traffic. And so, check us out. And you can, of course, find us every Thursday night here on Beltway Radio and Beyond. I'm Chip. That's Tez. That's Brian. You've been listening to Chip Chat on Beltway Radio and Beyond.
Democracy.
Help you out, let you know.